A cold raindrop landed on Lin Yuan's cheek. He frowned. Another drop followed, then another. He slowly opened his eyes. Gray clouds covered the sky. Young faces hurried past him, dragging suitcases and carrying backpacks. Parents called after their children, while volunteers in red shirts waved new students toward the registration booths. The large stone gate stood proudly in the distance. Azure River University. Lin Yuan froze. His breathing became uneven. He looked down at his hands. Smooth skin, no scars, no wrinkles. He touched his face. Then he looked at the phone lying beside him. The date on the lock screen made his heart stop. September 1st. 8 years ago. I'm back. The noise around him faded. Instead, another memory filled his mind. A cramped rental room. Stacks of unpaid bills. A body exhausted from working 2 jobs. A funeral attended by only a handful of people. And a lifetime wasted pretending to be someone he wasn't. He laughed softly. It sounded more bitter than happy. In the end, I fooled everyone except myself. Back then he had believed one thing. Rich people respected rich people. So he copied everything he could. Luxury watches. Fine wine. Business books. Old money etiquette. Expensive brands he could never afford. He learned how successful people spoke. How they negotiated. How they carried themselves. How they thought. He looked rich, but he wasn't. By the time he finally understood that real success came from creating value instead of pretending to have it, his life was already over. Lin Yuan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the bitterness had disappeared. If heaven gave me another chance, I won't waste it. He stood up, picked up his backpack, and walked toward the university entrance. This life would be different. Not because he wanted revenge, not because he wanted to become the richest man alive. He simply wanted to live honestly. Half an hour later, Lin Yuan finished registration. Just as he was about to head toward the dormitory, his footsteps slowed. He stared across the road. A large construction billboard surrounded an unfinished residential project. Golden Horizon Residence. His eyes widened. I remember this place. 8 years later, this neighborhood would become one of the most expensive locations in the city after a new subway line. Shopping mall and technology park were completed. Apartments here would increase in value more than tenfold. At that moment, the sales office looked almost empty. Most people thought buying property near a university was foolish. Lin Yuan smiled. My first opportunity. He crossed the road. Inside the sales office, a young employee immediately greeted him. Hello, student. Are your parents coming? Lin Yuan shook his head. I came alone. The employee hesitated. This was a property showroom, not a convenience store. Most university students only came out of curiosity. Before he could respond, a middle-aged man walked over. He wore a simple white shirt with rolled sleeves. There was nothing flashy about him. Xiao Li, I'll take this customer. Yes? Manager Zhou. Manager Zhou smiled politely. What can I help you with? I'd like to see the 2-bedroom units. Manager Zhou nodded. May I ask why? Lin Yuan looked at the scale model. The subway station will probably be built within walking distance. The land behind the project is large enough for commercial development. The university guarantees long-term rental demand. If managed properly, this area should become one of the city's new business districts. The room became quiet. Manager Zhou stared at him. Most customers asked about discounts. This young man was analyzing future urban planning. Interesting. What makes you think a subway will be built? Lin Yuan smiled. I don't know. I'm just making a guess. Manager Zhou laughed. A bold guess. It is. But investing is always been about seeing possibilities before everyone else. Manager Zhou's smile slowly disappeared. Those words, he had once heard almost the same sentence from an internationally famous investor. Yet this young man looked no older than 18. Do your parents work in real estate? No. Construction? No. Government planning? Lin Yuan shook his head again. My parents run a small family shop. Manager Zhou paused. Then he simply nodded. I see. But inside, he didn't believe it. Someone raised in an ordinary family couldn't casually discuss investment logic like this. Not at this age, not with this calm, not with this confidence. After another 20 minutes, Lin Yuan selected his apartment. He thanked Manager Zhou and left. The sales office fell silent again. One employee whispered, Manager Zhou? Was he really just a freshman? Manager Zhou kept watching the young man's back through the glass doors. I don't know. But I know one thing. What? He wasn't here to buy an apartment. The employee blinked. He wasn't. Manager Zhou smiled faintly. He was investing. He turned toward his assistant. Help me look into him. The assistant nodded. What should I investigate? Manager Zhou looked toward the university across the street. I want to know. Which family raised a child like that? Outside, completely unaware of the misunderstanding he had just created, Lin Yuan adjusted his backpack and walked toward his dormitory. For the first time in both lives, his future felt wide open. The dormitory building stood at the eastern edge of campus, beyond a row of old plane trees and a crowded student plaza. Lin Yuan reached the 4th floor and found room 407 already open. A suitcase blocked half the entrance. Beside it stood a young man wearing designer sneakers, a branded jacket, and a watch expensive enough to cover 1 semester of tuition. The young man was trying to force a large speaker through the doorway. Lin Yuan stopped beside him. "Do you need help?" The young man turned. His eyes moved briefly over Lin Yuan's plain shirt, old backpack, and worn shoes. There was no contempt in his expression, only relief. "Brother, you arrived at the perfect time. Hold the door." Lin Yuan pushed the door wider while the young man carried the speaker inside. The room contained 4 beds, 4 desks, and enough luggage to suggest that someone planned to live there for 10 years. The young man placed the speaker beneath his desk and wiped his forehead. Zhao Kai, Business Management. Lin Yuan, Economics. Zhao Kai pointed toward the piles of clothes, shoes, snacks, and electronics occupying one side of the room. "Those are mine," I guessed. Zhao Kai looked around proudly. "My father said university is where you create the best memories of your life. So I brought everything necessary to make those memories comfortable." Lin Yuan set the coffee machine sitting beside the window. "You brought a coffee machine into a dormitory." "Exactly. You understand me already." A calm voice came from behind them. "The dormitory regulations prohibit appliances above 800 watts. Another student entered carrying 2 neatly packed bags. He wore simple clothes, but everything fit properly. His luggage was labeled, and a printed checklist rested on top of one bag. Zhao Kai stared at him. "You memorized the dormitory regulations?" "I read them." "Why?" "Because we live here." The student placed his bags beside an empty bed. "Chen Ming. Finance." Zhao Kai pointed toward the coffee machine. "Are you going to report me?" "No." "Good. I'll wait until you use it and trip the circuit breaker. Then the building supervisor will handle it." Zhao Kai looked offended. Lin Yuan placed his backpack beside the remaining bed. The room already felt familiar. In his first life, he had treated university as a stage. He had chosen friends based on who seemed useful, avoided anyone who might make him appear ordinary, and spent money he did not have to maintain an image no one truly cared about. This time, he only wanted a quiet place to sleep and people he could speak to honestly. Heavy footsteps sounded in the corridor. A round-faced young man appeared at the door carrying a plastic basin, a rolled blanket, and a large bag of homemade food. He looked at the room number twice before entering. "Is this room 407? "It is," Chen Ming said. The newcomer smiled. "I'm Fang Hao, computer science." He placed the food on the center table. "My mother made too much. She said I should share it with my roommates." Zhao Kai opened the bag before anyone could object. Inside were several sealed containers of braised beef, dumplings, roasted duck, pastries, and fruit. He looked up slowly. "Your mother expects 4 people to eat this?" Fang Hao scratched his head. "She worries I won't eat properly." Chen Ming inspected one of the containers. "This restaurant packaging looks expensive. It's from our family." "Kitchen. Your family runs a restaurant?" Lin Yuan asked. "A small one." Fang Hao nodded sincerely. "My parents work very hard. Sometimes they have to manage several floors at once." Zhao Kai paused with a dumpling halfway to his mouth. "Several floors? The building owner lets them use the whole place." Chen Ming looked at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan looked back at him. Neither commented. Fang Hao began unpacking his belongings. Most were ordinary, but his suitcase bore the logo of a luxury luggage brand that Lin Yuan remembered cost more than some used cars. Zhao Kai noticed it immediately. "That suitcase is limited edition." Fang Hao looked surprised. "Really? My uncle gave it to me. He said his company had extras." "What company?" "Shipping. Large company?" Fang Hao considered the question. "I don't think so. My uncle says he only moves things between cities and sometimes other countries." Zhao Kai slowly lowered the dumpling. Chen Ming opened his checklist and crossed out something under roommates arrived. Lin Yuan almost smiled. The hidden heir did not appear to know that he was a hidden heir. That evening the 4 of them ate around the center table. Zhao Kai ordered additional drinks because he believed celebrations required sparkling water, served in glass bottles. Chen Ming calculated the total cost and transferred exactly 1/4. Fang Hao tried to pay for everyone, because his mother had told him not to trouble others. Lin Yuan ate quietly while listening to them argue. It was ordinary. No expensive banquet, no carefully practiced conversation, no need to prove anything. He found himself enjoying it more than any social event from his previous life. Zhao Kai leaned back in his chair. We should establish the rules of room 407. Chen Ming nodded. Agreed. Rule 1. Nobody sleeps before midnight. Rejected. Rule 2. We eat together at least once a week. Acceptable. Rule 3. When one brother gets a girlfriend, he introduces her friends to the others. Chen Ming looked at him. That rule benefits only you. It benefits the room. Fang Hao raised his hand. My parents said dating should wait until after graduation. Zhao Kai stared at him. Your parents stared at him. Your parents. Lead. They don't lie to me. Lin Yuan nearly choked on his drink. Fang Hao looked concerned. Are you all right? I'm fine. Zhao Kai pointed at Lin Yuan. What about you? Any rules? Lin Yuan thought for a moment. Don't borrow money to impress people. The room quieted. Zhao Kai raised an eyebrow. That sounds specific. It is. Personal experience? Lin Yuan did not avoid the question. Yes, he expected the familiar discomfort that followed any admission of weakness. Instead, Chen Ming nodded. Good rule, Fang Hao added. My father says debt should only be used to create value. Zhao Kai placed a hand over his chest. I don't borrow money to impress people. I spend my own money to impress people. That isn't better, Chen Ming said. It feels better. The argument continued. But something had changed. Lin Yuan had admitted an embarrassing truth without hiding behind a joke. Nothing terrible happened. Nothing terrible happened. No one looked down on him. The realization was small, but it loosened something inside him that had remained tight for years. Later, while Zhao Kai tested his speaker at a volume immediately rejected by the other three, Lin Yuan received a call from an unfamiliar number. Hello, Mr. Lin. This is the Golden Horizon sales office. The voice belonged to the young employee who had first greeted him. We need one additional signature for your purchase documents. Would tomorrow afternoon be convenient? It would. Thank you. Thank you. Manager Zhou would also like to speak with you regarding the unit. Lin Yuan's toward the dark campus outside the window. Is there a problem? No problem. He said there may be a better payment arrangement available. I understand. After ending the call, Lin Yuan found Zhao Kai watching him. You bought something. An apartment. Silence filled the room. Even the speaker stopped because Chen Ming had unplugged it. Zhao Kai pointed toward the phone. An apartment? Across the road. You bought an apartment on registration day? It was a good price. Zhao Kai looked delighted rather than suspicious. Brother Lin, you hid yourself deeply. I didn't hide anything. Chen Ming closed the regulation booklet. Did your family buy it for you? No. I used the savings my parents prepared for tuition and living expenses, then arranged a loan for the rest. Chen Ming frowned slightly. That is a major risk. It is. Why take it? The rental demand here is stable. The area still has undeveloped land, and transport access is likely to improve. Even without major appreciation, the apartment should preserve its value. His explanation was simple. Yet the three roommates listened more seriously than he expected. Chen Ming asked several questions about the repayment period, interest rate, and monthly burden. Lin Yuan answered each one. When he finished, Chen Ming remained quiet for a moment. The risk is controlled. Zhao Kai stared at him. You analyzed all this before coming to university? I had time on the journey. You came by bus. It was a long bus ride. Fang Hao nodded as though this explained everything. Zhao Kai did not look convinced. The next afternoon, all four walked toward Golden Horizon residence. Lin Yuan had not invited them. Zhao Kai had declared that purchasing an apartment was too important to handle alone. Fang Hao wanted to see what university housing outside campus looked like. Chen Ming claimed he was only accompanying them to prevent Zhao Kai from signing anything. The sales office was busier than the day before. Manager Zhao emerged from his office as soon as Lin Yuan entered. Mr. Lin. His tone was warmer than before. Lin Yuan introduced his roommates. Manager Zhao greeted each of them, but his attention returned quickly to Lin Yuan. The bank approved your initial application. However, I reviewed your payment structure last night. He led them to a meeting table. I can offer a longer interest-free period through the developer. It reduces your early repayment pressure. Lin Yuan examined the documents. The arrangement was unusually generous. Too generous for an ordinary customer purchasing one modest apartment. He looked up. Why? Manager Zhou had expected excitement, gratitude, perhaps even silent acceptance. The direct question made him pause. I believe young buyers should receive support. Every young buyer. Manager Zhou laughed. No. Only those I believe will become long-term clients. Lin Yuan read the conditions again. There were no hidden penalties, no restrictive clauses, no attempt to control the unit. Manager Zhou was making a small investment in a relationship. Lin Yuan understood because he had spent years studying how successful people built networks. Paste the documents down. I appreciate the offer, but I cannot accept special treatment without giving something in return. Zhao Kai stopped browsing the miniature building model. Manager Zhou's interest deepened. What would you suggest? The project has good fundamentals, but the current marketing focuses too heavily on luxury. Lin Yuan pointed toward the brochures. Most buyers near a university care about convenience, safety, and rental stability. The model units are designed for families, but the first wave of demand may come from parents buying for their children or investors targeting students. Manager Zhou said nothing. Lin Yuan continued. You could divide the campaign. Keep the family positioning for larger units. Market the smaller units around education, stable occupancy, and future transport. Offer basic furniture packages. Parents will pay for convenience, and investors will understand the rental model more easily. The young employee beside them began taking notes. Manager Zhao had considered adjusting the campaign, but not with such clarity. The project had been struggling because it was positioned as a premium residential development in an area the public still considered undeveloped. Lin Yuan had identified the weakness after one visit. What do you want in return for that suggestion? Manager Zhou asked. Nothing. You just said you wouldn't accept special treatment without giving something back. I gave something back. I gave something back. Manager Zhou studied him. Lin Yuan's expression remained calm. He was not performing humility. He genuinely considered the exchange complete. Manager Zhou pushed the revised agreement toward him. Then we have a deal. Lin Yuan signed. Zhao Kai waited until they left the sales office before grabbing his shoulder. What exactly happened in there? I completed the paperwork. You gave a property developer a marketing strategy. He offered a better payment arrangement. So you paid him with advice? Essentially. Zhao Kai looked toward Chen Ming. Is that normal? No. Fang Hao seemed thoughtful. My father also exchanges advice with his friends. Zhao Kai turned to him. What kind of advice? Usually about ports. Your family runs a restaurant. They have many customers near ports. Zhao Kai opened his mouth, then decided the answer would only create more questions. They crossed the road toward campus. Behind them, Manager Zhou remained beside the sales office window. His assistant approached with a folder. We completed the background check. Manager Zhou accepted it. The file was thin. Too thin. Lin Yuan's parents ran a small shop in a distant county. Their income was modest. They had no political connections, no large companies, and no visible relationship with any major family. The apartment deposit had come from years of family savings. The assistant lowered his voice. Everything appears ordinary. Manager Zhou read the report again. Appears? We checked twice. Manager Zhou looked through the glass. Across the road, Lin Yuan walked between his roommates, dressed plainly, and carrying the same old backpack. An ordinary family could raise a hard-working child. It could raise an intelligent child. But this level of composure, investment awareness, social balance, and understanding of exchange usually came from years of exposure. The report did not explain him. It only made the mystery deeper. Some families keep their descendants outside the public record, Manager Zhou said. The assistant understood immediately. Powerful families sometimes protected younger members by giving them ordinary backgrounds, especially before they entered business. Should we continue? Manager Zhou closed the file. Quietly, he watched Lin Yuan disappear beneath the university gate. Do not offend him, the assistant nodded, and prepare the revised marketing proposal. Use his suggestions, all of them, all of them. That night, the lights in room 407 remained on long after the rest of the corridor quieted. Zhao Kai planned the group's first weekend outside campus. Chen Ming created a shared expense sheet. Fang Hao called his mother and assured her that his roommates were good people. Lin Yuan sat near the window with the apartment contract open before him. The first step of his second life was complete. He had not worn expensive clothes. He had not invented a powerful background. He had not borrowed money to maintain an image. He had simply recognized an opportunity, spoken honestly, and treated another person's goodwill with respect. It felt almost too simple. His phone vibrated. A message had arrived from Manager Zhao. Mr. Lin, your marketing suggestion has been approved for testing. Thank you. When you are free, I would like to invite you to tea. Lin Yuan read it once and replied, Of course. Thank you for the payment arrangement. He placed the phone down. Across the city, Manager Zhu looked at the reply and smiled. No flattery, no false modesty, no attempt to force closeness. Only a clean acknowledgement of an equal exchange. He turned to the assistant beside him. Find out which family that young man belongs to. The assistant hesitated. We already investigated. Then investigate the people who may be protecting his identity. Neither man considered the simplest possibility. Lin Yuan came from an ordinary family. Everything unusual about him had been purchased with regret, failure, and an entire lifetime spent learning the wrong lesson before finally understanding the right one. The next morning, Zhao Kai discovered that the dormitory bathroom had no hot water. His shout woke everyone. This building was designed by enemies of civilization. Chen Ming checked the notice beside the door. Hot water is available from 6:30 to 8. Zhao Kai looked at the clock. It was 8:17. That is an unreasonable system. You slept through the reasonable part. Fang Hao sat on the edge of his bed, already dressed. He held a stainless steel thermos in both hands. My mother said old dormitories build character. Zhao Kai pointed at him. Your mother sent you here with a suitcase worth more than my speaker. She said the suitcase was durable. Lin Yuan climbed down from his bed and collected his toiletries. Use the public shower building tonight. Zhao Kai turned. You knew about it. There was a campus map in the registration pack. Chen Ming gave Lin Yuan an approving nod. Zhao Kai stared at both of them. I have entered a room full of people who read instructions. Within 3 days, room 407 developed its own rhythm. Chen Ming woke first and kept the room organized, without asking anyone to follow his standards. Fang Hao returned from morning exercise carrying breakfast for whoever was still awake. Zhao Kai complained about early classes, then somehow arrived wearing a different coordinated outfit every day. Lin Yuan adapted easily. In his first life, he had spent the opening weeks of university building an image. He had hidden the price tags on cheap clothes, while deliberately displaying the logos on borrowed accessories. He had avoided the cafeteria because he thought eating there made him look poor. He had joined expensive gatherings, then survived the rest of the month on instant noodles. This time, he followed his roommates into the cafeteria and bought the cheapest breakfast set. Zhao Kai stared at the steamed buns on Lin Yuan's tray. You own an apartment but eat this? The apartment has future value. Breakfast becomes waste after digestion. Chen Ming nodded. Correct. Zhao Kai looked offended by their agreement. Food also creates happiness. Fang Hao placed a tea egg on Lin Yuan's tray. My mother says the same thing. They took a table near Yuan's. The window. Around them thousands of new students compared schedules, joined club groups, and tried to remember the names of classmates they had met only once. Zhao Kai noticed attention wherever he went, and enjoyed it openly. He greeted strangers, complimented outfits, and offered recommendations for restaurants no freshman could reasonably afford. He never pretended his interests were deeper than they were. I like good things, he said when Chen Ming questioned the price of his shoes. Why should I act ashamed? Chen Ming opened his milk carton. There is a difference between enjoying joy, something, and using it to measure people. I don't measure people by shoes. You asked Lin Yuan what watch he wore within 10 minutes of meeting him. I was making conversation. You lost interest when he said he didn't wear one. I became interested again when he said he bought an apartment. Zhao Kai turned to Lin Yuan. That proves I'm open-minded. It proves property is more expensive than watches, Lin Yuan said. Fang Hao laughed so suddenly that he nearly dropped his chopsticks. The four of them drew attention without trying to. Zhao Kai looked like someone who belonged at the center of any gathering. Chen Ming carried himself with the quiet control of a person who already had a plan for the next 5 years. Fang Hao seemed harmless enough to confess anything to. Lin Yuan was the least noticeable at first glance. Yet whenever someone joined their table, conversation gradually shifted toward him. He listened before speaking. He did not compete for attention. When asked a question, he answered directly without trying to sound clever. To most students, that calm felt unusual. To a few, it felt expensive. The first misunderstanding on campus began with a second-hand bicycle. After lunch, Lin Yuan found a notice on the student board offering one for sale. The seller was a graduating senior who needed to leave the city quickly. The bicycle was scratched, but mechanically sound. Lin Yuan negotiated a fair price and paid in cash. Zhao Kai watched the exchange with disbelief. You bought an apartment yesterday, and a used bicycle today. The apartment is across the road. Exactly. Why do you need a bicycle? Classes are spread across campus. Buy an electric scooter. It would take longer to register and maintain. Buy a new bicycle. This one works. The senior handed Lin Yuan the key to the rear lock and thanked him. Twice, a group of nearby students had overheard the conversation. One girl whispered, maybe he doesn't want people to know his family has money. Her friend looked at the faded bicycle. That is a very committed disguise. Lin Yuan heard them but said nothing. He had learned something important during his first life. Correcting every assumption only created new ones. He placed his books in the basket and rode toward the economics building. Zhao Kai followed in a taxi he had ordered from one side of campus to the other. By the end of the week, Lin Yuan had acquired a reputation he did not understand. Some students believed he came from a wealthy family but had been raised strictly. Others thought he had purchased the apartment as part of a family investment. A smaller group believed he was pretending to be ordinary to test the character of those around him. The truth, That his parents had used years of savings, and that he had taken on a carefully calculated loan, was apparently too simple to be interesting. The rumors did not affect his routine. He attended lectures, reviewed material he had forgotten, and visited Golden Horizon twice to inspect the apartment before handover. Manager Joe's revised marketing campaign also began quietly. The original advertisements had emphasized marble entrances, European landscaping, and luxury living. The new version focused on distance from the university, stable rental demand, future transportation access, and complete furnishing packages. Within 1 week, inquiries for the smaller units increased. Manager Joe invited Lin Yuan to tea. The meeting took place in a private room above an old tea house near campus. Zhao Kai wanted to come. Chen Ming told him it was not a social outing. Fang Hao offered to send food. Lin Yuan went alone. Manager Joe poured the tea himself. Sales increased by 30% after we changed the campaign. That quickly, the demand was always there. We were speaking to the wrong customers. Lin Yuan accepted the cup. Then the project had strong fundamentals. Manager Zhou smiled. You refuse credit very naturally. I made one suggestion. Your team executed it. Most young people would have claimed the result immediately. Lin Yuan divided responsibility without false modesty. The distinction mattered. Manager Zhou opened a folder. Inside were maps of 3 undeveloped districts. I would like your opinion. Lin Yuan looked at the maps but did not touch them. Is this business consultation? Conversation between friends. We have only met 3 times. Then conversation. Then conversation. Between people who may become friends. The answer was smooth, but not dishonest. Manager Zhou was testing him. Lin Yuan understood. He also understood the information in front of him. One district would stagnate for years. Another would grow steadily after a hospital expansion. The third would become the center of a technology corridor that did not yet officially exist. He could have pointed to the third map immediately. Instead, he asked questions. What is the current land price? Which infrastructure projects are confirmed rather than proposed? How much debt would the development require? What is the expected holding period? The discussion lasted nearly an hour. Lin Yuan did not predict the future. He analyzed the information available in the present, then allowed his memories to guide which risks deserved attention. Finally, he placed one finger near the second district. This is the safest. Manager Zhou raised an eyebrow. And the best? Lin Yuan moved to the third. This may have the highest potential, but only if transport and commercial development arrive together. Buying too early could trap capital for years. Manager Zhao leaned back. That was precisely the problem. A less experienced person would have chosen the district with the largest imagined return. Lin Yuan first separated potential from practicality. Which would you choose? Manager Zhou asked. That depends on your company. Assume the decision is yours. I would secure a small position in the third district and focus the main capital on. The second, why not commit fully to the greater opportunity? Because surviving long enough to reach the opportunity matters more than being correct too early. The teapot stopped halfway through Manager Zhou's pour. He had built his company through aggressive bets. The strategy had brought rapid growth, but it had also left him dependent on short-term financing. Lin Yuan's answer touched the exact concern his board had been discussing for months. Who taught you that? He asked. Failure. Manager Zhou waited for more. Lin Yuan offered none. The single word carried enough weight. In his first life, he had been correct about several trends and still lost money because he entered too early, borrowed too much, or lacked the patience to survive. Future knowledge did not remove timing. It only made mistakes more embarrassing. Manager Zhou changed the subject. How are you finding university? My roommates are interesting. Good families. I don't know. You haven't asked. It doesn't matter. Manager Zhou watched him over the rim of his cup. For the first time, he considered that Lin Yuan might truly dislike discussions about family background. That did not weaken his suspicion. It strengthened it. Children from powerful families were often taught not to reveal connections casually. I have a dinner next Saturday, Manager Zhou said. Several friends will attend. Nothing formal. You may find the conversation useful. Lin Yuan understood the value of the invitation. In his first life, he would have accepted before Manager Zhou finished speaking. He would have bought new clothes, memorized the guest list, and entered the room desperate to prove he belonged. This time he asked, "Why invite me?" "Because I want to hear what you think when other people disagree with you." A fair answer. Lin Yuan nodded. "I'll attend." When he returned to the dormitory, Zhao Kai was sitting at Lin Yuan's desk. Chen Ming was standing beside him with crossed arms. Fang Hao held a cardboard box. Lin Yuan stopped at the door. "What happened?" Zhao Kai pointed toward the box. "We have a problem." Inside was a new coffee machine, larger than the first. Fang Hao looked apologetic. "I called my mother about the power limit. She asked a friend to send one that uses less electricity. Chen Ming checked the label. It meets the regulation. Zhao Kai looked triumphant. Room 407 has defeated the system. The system was a wattage limit, Chen Ming said. You followed it. Victory through adaptation. Fang Hao began removing packets of imported coffee beans from the box. Lin Yuan picked one up. The name belonged to a private estate whose beans were rarely sold outside luxury hotels. Your mother's friend sells coffee machines? He asked. No. He owns some farms. Coffee farms? I think so. Zhao Kai slowly turned. What does your family restaurant serve? Mostly Chinese food. Why does your mother know someone who owns overseas coffee farms? Fang Hao considered it. Rich people also need to eat. Zhao Kai pressed both hands against the desk. That answer explains nothing. It explains enough, Lin Yuan said. Chen Ming glanced at him. You noticed too, on the first day? Fang Hao looked between them. Noticed what? Nothing, Lin Yuan said. There was no reason to challenge the boy's trust in his family. The truth would arrive eventually. Until then, room 407 had excellent coffee. Zhao Kai tested the machine immediately. The result was strong enough to keep all four awake through the evening. They used the time to attend the university club fair. The central plaza had transformed into rows of booths covered with banners, lights, and handmade signs. Music competed with shouted invitations. Senior students promised friendships, skills, internships, romance, and free snacks in roughly that order. Zhao Kai was recruited by 3 performance clubs before reaching the first row. Chen Ming joined the Finance Society after inspecting its activity records and annual budget. Fang Hao was pulled toward the Computer Association by the promise of a programming competition. Lin Yuan intended to join nothing. Then he noticed a quiet booth at the edge of the plaza. The sign read Student Entrepreneurship Center. Only 2 seniors sat behind it. One was arranging brochures. The other was speaking with a girl in a white blouse who held a folder against her chest. She looked imposed, but her questions were precise. What support do student projects receive after the preliminary stage? Office space, mentor access, and limited seed funding, the senior answered. Who owns the intellectual property? The student team. Unless university equipment or research is involved. What percentage of projects survive beyond 1 year? The senior hesitated. Not many. The girl nodded as though she preferred the honest answer. Lin Yuan recognized her. Su Qing. In his previous life, she had become the founder of one of the country's largest education technology companies. At university, however, her first project had failed. The failure forced her to leave school for a year, during which another company copied the concept and dominated the market. Lin Yuan had once studied her interviews because he admired the way she rebuilt herself. He had not expected to meet her this early. Su Qing finished collecting the brochures and turned. Her gaze paused on him. Lin Yuan realized he had been standing still. She stepped aside. Were you waiting? No. Then you're blocking the sign. He moved. Sorry. She gave him a brief nod and walked away. Zhao Kai appeared beside him. You were staring. I recognized her. From where? An article. What article? Lin Yuan corrected himself. I may have seen her during registration. Zhao Kai followed Su Qing with his eyes. She looked serious. She is. You spoke 3 words to her. Lin Yuan picked up a brochure from the booth. Some people are easy to read. Zhao Kai smiled. That sounded mysterious enough to create another rumor. Lin Yuan ignored him. The Entrepreneurship Center interested him for practical reasons. He remembered several campus projects that later became valuable companies, but he also remembered how many promising students failed because they lacked guidance, capital, or connections. Future knowledge could help him identify opportunities. It could not build them alone. Manager Zhou's dinner might open one door. This center could open another. He filled in the registration form. Zhao Kai leaned over his shoulder. Project name? I don't have one. Business idea? Not yet. Then why join? To learn what problems exist before choosing one to solve. The senior behind the table looked up. His expression changed slightly. Most freshmen arrived with grand ideas and no understanding of customers. This one had started with a problem. Economics student? He asked. Yes, come to the orientation on Friday. Lin Yuan accepted the schedule. By the time they returned to the dormitory, Fang Hao had received several messages from home. He read one and sighed. My parents want me to attend dinner this weekend. Zhao Kai dropped onto his chair. Then go. They want me to bring my roommates. All of us. My mother says she needs to know who I'm living with. Chen Ming asked. Where? At our restaurant. Zhao Kai sat up. The small one with several floors. Fang Hao nodded. My father reserved a room. Zhao Kai looked at Lin Yuan. We have to go. Lin knew that expression. Zhao Kai did not want it. He wanted answers. The restaurant stood beside the river in the most expensive commercial district in the city. Its entrance was framed by carved wood and discreet lighting. No large sign advertised the name. Luxury cars stopped beneath a covered arrival lane while uniformed staff opened doors. Zhao Kai stared through the taxi window. This is not a small restaurant. Fang Hao looked confused. It is only one building. The building had 7 floors. Chen Ming adjusted his glasses. Your family operates all of it? My parents say renting separate shops is inconvenient. A staff member saw Fang Hao and hurried forward. Young Master Fang. Fang Hao immediately looked uncomfortable. I told you not to call me that. Sorry, young ma, Mr. Fang. Zhao Kai's eyes brightened. Lin Yuan stepped out of the taxi. The restaurant was more significant than he remembered. He knew the name now, River Pavilion. Within several years it would expand into a national luxury hospitality group. Its founder rarely appeared in public, and almost nothing was known about the family. The hidden heir had been hiding in room 407 while believing his parents ran a hard-working neighborhood restaurant. Fang Hao led them through a private elevator. My mother may ask many questions. Don't worry. She asks everyone questions. What does your father ask? Zhao Kai said. Usually nothing. The elevator doors opened onto a private dining floor. A woman in a dark green dress waited outside the room. Her expression softened the moment she saw Fang Hao. You've become thinner. It has been 1 week. University food is unreliable. She checked his face, his clothes, and finally, the 3 roommates behind him. Fang Hao introduced them. My mother, Liu Mei. She greeted Zhao Kai and Chen Ming warmly. When her attention reached Lin Yuan, it remained there a fraction longer. Fang Hao had mentioned the apartment purchase during his calls home. He had also repeated Lin Yuan's advice about debt, value, and risk. Liu Mei gestured toward the private room. Come inside. Fang Hao's father is finishing a meeting. The table was already filled with dishes. Zhao Kai regained his confidence immediately. Auntie, this looks amazing. Eat more. All of you. The conversation began with ordinary questions. Where were they from? What were they studying? How were they adapting to university? Zhao Kai spoke openly about his family, his plans, and his belief that university should be enjoyed without pretending hardship was noble. Chen Ming described his academic goals and interest in corporate finance. Lin Yuan answered simply, My parents run a small shop. What kind? Liu Mei asked. Household goods and basic groceries. And they supported your apartment purchase? They gave me the money they had saved for university. I borrowed the rest. Liu Mei did not ask why an ordinary family would trust an 18-year-old with so much responsibility. She asked, Were they afraid? Yes. Then why agree? Because I explained the risk honestly. That answer pleased her. Before she could continue, the door opened. A broad-shouldered man entered with 2 guests. Fang Hao stood. Dad? Fang Zhang nodded to his son, then greeted the students. His eyes were calm and difficult to read. The 2 men beside him were clearly not restaurant employees. One wore a bank executive's pin. The other was Manager Zhou. Manager Zhou stopped when he saw Lin Yuan. Mr. Zhou stopped when he saw Lin Yuan. Lin. Fang Cheng looked between them. You know each other? We met through Golden Horizon. Manager Zhou smiled. Mr. Lin gave us a useful marketing strategy. Zhao Kai placed his chopsticks down very carefully. Fang Hao looked proud. My roommate is good at business, Lin Yuan said. It was one suggestion. Manager Zhou sat beside Fang Zheng. One suggestion that improved inquiries by 30%. The room's atmosphere shifted. Liu Mei glanced toward her husband. Fang Cheng finally showed interest. You're studying economics? Yes. Why economics? In my previous. Lin Yuan stopped. The words had nearly escaped. In my earlier years, I misunderstood money. I thought wealth was mostly about appearance. Economics helps explain how value is actually created. The answer was not polished. That made it more convincing. Fang Zheng picked up his tea. Most students choose economics because they want to become rich. I also want financial freedom, not wealth. Wealth without freedom becomes another responsibility. Manager Zhou smiled slightly. Fang Zheng did not. But he began asking questions. Not about textbooks, about business. Why did some restaurants remain busy while losing money? When should a company expand? Was debt good or bad? Lin Yuan never rushed. A full restaurant can still fail if customers occupy tables too long and spend too little. Expansion should follow repeatable systems, not temporary demand. Debt is useful when it purchases productive time. It is dangerous when it purchases pride. At the last answer, Zhao Kai coughed. Chen Ming looked at him. Zhao Kai whispered, I feel targeted. Fang Zheng heard him. For the first time, he laughed. The dinner relaxed, yet the adults continued observing Lin Yuan. He knew how to use the tableware without watching anyone else. He recognized dishes but never displayed the knowledge. When the banker mentioned a recent policy adjustment, Lin Yuan understood its effect on small businesses. None of these things proved wealth. Together, they formed a picture difficult to explain. Fang Zheng had spent his life meeting people who tried to impress him. Lin Yuan did the opposite. He answered when asked and stopped when the answer was complete. After dinner, the students waited near the private elevator, while Fang Hao spoke with his mother. Manager Zhou joined Fang Zheng beside the window. Now you understand why I asked about him. Fang Zheng watched Lin Yuan listen to Zhao Kai complain about being too full to walk. His background is ordinary, on paper. You investigated twice. Fang Zheng glanced at him. Manager Zhou lowered his voice. I believe someone is protecting the truth. Fang Zheng considered this. Powerful families could create ordinary records. They could not easily create genuine character. That part had to be taught. Fang Hao trusts him, Fang Zheng said. Is that good? My son trusts everyone. Manager Zhou smiled. Then perhaps he finally trusted the right person. Across the room, Liu Mai placed several containers of food into Fang Hao's hands. Share these. We still have food from last week. Then share with your classmates. Zhao Kai accepted one container on Fang Hao's behalf. Auntie, we will make sure nothing is wasted. Chen Ming looked at him. You complained that the dormitory refrigerator was too small. We will solve the problem through consumption. When the 4 students left, Fang Zheng remained at the window. Liu Mai joined him. The Lin boy is interesting. He is careful. Not guarded, careful. There was a difference. Guarded people protected themselves. Careful people protected consequences. Fang Zheng looked toward Manager Zhao. Invite him again when you gather your friends. Manager Zhao nodded. Liu Mai smiled. Are you trying to investigate him too? No. Fang Zheng watched the 4 young men cross the illuminated entrance court. I want to know what kind of person my son has chosen to follow. Outside. Zhao Kai waited until they entered the taxi. Then he turned toward Fang Hao. Your family owns River Pavilion. Fang Hao nodded. You said it was a small restaurant. Compared with the big hotel groups. It is small. It has a private elevator. The stairs would be inconvenient for guests. There was a banker at dinner. My father helps him entertain clients. Manager Zhou was there. He is my father's friend. Zhao Kai stared at him for several seconds. Your family is rich. Fang Hao frowned. We do all right. But my parents still work every day. Zhao Kai looked at Lin Yuan. Say something. His parents do work every day. That is not the point. It is his point. Chen Ming leaned back in his seat. Fang Hao may define wealth differently. Fang Hao may define wealth. Nodded, grateful that someone understood. My father says businesses can collapse at any time. So we should never think of ourselves as rich. Zhao Kai pressed his forehead against the window. I've entered a room with 2 hidden young masters. Lin Yuan turned. Who is the other one? You. My parents run a grocery shop. Exactly the Thori kind of thing a hidden young master would say. The taxi filled with laughter. Lin Yuan did not argue. For once the misunderstanding felt harmless. But the dinner's consequences spread before any of them realized it. The banker told a friend about the freshman who described it as productive time. Manager Zhu repeated Lin Yuan's analysis of expansion risk during a meeting with 2 investors. Fang Zheng mentioned, without naming him, that his son's roommate understood business better than many managers twice his age. 3 separate conversations created 3 separate versions of the same person. A carefully raised heir. A young investor hidden behind an ordinary identity. A descendant of a family powerful enough to erase its own tracks. By Monday morning, students from the Finance Society had heard that an economics freshman had advised Golden Horizon. By Tuesday, the story claimed he had selected one of the company's future development zones. By Wednesday, someone insisted Manager Zhu had personally driven him back to campus. Lin Yuan learned about the rumors when Su Qing sat across from him in the Entrepreneurship Center. The orientation had just ended. 20 students remained in the room, forming teams around early project ideas. Su Qing placed a 1-page proposal on the table. I need someone who understands pricing and customer acquisition. Lin Yuan read the title. A digital tutoring platform, matching university students with secondary school learners. It was the first version of the company she would later build. The model had serious weaknesses, but the core need was real. Why me? He asked. Because 3 people told me you're good at business. Which 3? They heard it from other people. That isn't reliable. No, she folded her arms. That's why I'm asking you directly. Lin Yuan. looked down at the proposal again. In his first life he had watched this idea fail. Now the person behind it was offering him a seat before the failure began. Future knowledge had opened another door, but Suqing was not an investment asset. She was a student risking her time, savings, and confidence. If he became involved, he could not treat her future as something already decided. The idea has potential, he said. But the first version is too broad. You want to serve every subject, every age group, and every district. Scale is the goal. Scale comes after repetition. Suqing leaned forward. What would you change? Start with one district, one exam level. Recruit tutors from 2 departments. Measure completion rates, parent satisfaction, and repeat bookings before expanding. She listened without interrupting. Anything else? Don't build the full platform yet. Her expression tightened. The platform is the business. The service is the business. The platform is how you deliver it. That distinction stopped her. Lin Yuan continued. Run the first version manually. Messaging groups, simple scheduling, direct payments. Learn where the system breaks before paying someone to automate the wrong process. Suqing slowly turned the proposal around and began writing notes. How much time can you give this? I haven't agreed to join. You just redesigned the pilot. I answered your question. She looked up. Unlike Manager Zhao, Suqing did not assume generosity created obligation. Then I'll ask clearly. Will you help me test it? Lin Yuan considered the roadmap of his new life. The apartment secured stability. Manager Zhou provided access to business experience. The Entrepreneurship Center offered a chance to create something instead of only predicting it. And Suqing had already shown the most important quality. She listened. Yes, he said. But we test the need before building the company. A faint smile appeared. Agreed. From the doorway, Zhao Kai watched the exchange and sent a message to the room 407 group. Lin Yuan has joined a startup with the serious girl. Chen Ming replied first. Ask whether there is a budget. Fang Hao followed. Does she need restaurant customers? Zhao Kai typed again. None of you understand the important part. Lin Yuan's phone vibrated. He glanced at the messages, then switched it to silent. Suqing noticed. Something urgent, my roommates. That doesn't answer the question. It does. She accepted that. They spent the next hour reducing the project to a 2-week pilot. By the time they finished, the empty entrepreneurship room had gone dark, except for the lights above their table. Suqing closed her folder. I heard something else about you. Lin Yuan already knew. Most of it is probably false. That your family is connected to Golden Horizon? False. That Manager Zhou is mentoring you? Not exactly. That you invested Zhou is mentoring you. In a future development district? Completely false. She studied him. Then why do people believe it? Lin Yuan looked through the window at the dark campus paths. People prefer complicated explanations. For what? Ordinary things they don't understand. Suqing followed his gaze. What is the ordinary explanation? I made one useful suggestion. She waited. That's all? That's all. Suqing gathered her papers. I believe you. Lin Yuan looked at her. She added, but I also believe one useful suggestion can reveal more than 100 introductions. Then she left. Lin Yuan remained beside the table for a moment. In his first life, he had worked endlessly to make people believe he was extraordinary. Now, he told the truth, and they reached the same conclusion on their own. The difference was that this time, their judgment did not come from his clothes, his watch, or the places he pretended to belong. It came from value he had actually provided. That was a misunderstanding he could live with. Across the city, Manager Zhao entered a private club carrying a folder of project maps. Several business owners were already waiting. One asked why he had changed Golden Horizon's marketing so suddenly. Another wanted to know who had recommended the new strategy. Manager Zhou placed the folder on the table. A university freshman. The room quieted. Someone laughed. Manager Zhou did not. He also warned me against committing too much capital to the Western Technology District. An older investor stopped turning his glass. Which family? We haven't confirmed it. Then, how do you know he is worth listening to? Manager Zhou thought of the old backpack, the used bicycle, and the young man who refused a favor until he had returned equal value. Because people who need to prove their background mention it. He sat down. That young man behaves as though his background has never needed proof. By the end of the evening, 5 influential people knew Lin Yuan's name. None had met him. All wanted to. The first invitation arrived 2 days later. Manager Zhou sent Lin Yuan an address, a time, and 1 sentence. A few friends would like to meet you. Lin Yuan read the message during lunch. Zhao Kai leaned across the cafeteria table before he could lock the screen. Private business dinner? Tea. Business people never invite someone to tea just for tea. Chen Ming looked up from his finance notes. Who will attend? I wasn't given a list. Then ask, why, so you can prepare. Lin Yuan placed his phone beside his tray. Preparing to understand a subject is useful. Preparing a personality for specific people is not. Zhao Kai stared at him. Do you practice saying things like that? No. That makes it worse. Fang Hao pushed a plate of vegetables toward Lin Yuan. My father says you should never attend a meeting hungry. Zhao Kai turned to him. Your father holds business meetings inside a 7th-floor restaurant. He still eats first. The meeting was scheduled for Saturday afternoon. It was not held in an office. The address led Lin Yuan to a quiet courtyard behind an antique shop, where bamboo screens separated several private rooms from a small garden. Manager Zhou waited near the entrance. He looked at Lin Yuan's plain shirt and dark trousers, then at the used bicycle parked outside. You rode here? The bus route requires 2 transfers. Manager Zhou nodded slowly. The bicycle was practical. It also made the young man even harder to interpret. Inside the private room, 4 people sat around a round tea table. Manager Zhou introduced them without emphasizing titles. Gao Shun owned a regional supermarket chain. Han Dai was the banker Lin Yuan had met at River Pavilion. Wu Jian managed a manufacturing company that produced small household appliances. The oldest man, Qian Bo, had invested in all 3 businesses at different stages. They appeared relaxed, but the room had the controlled stillness of a negotiation. Lin Yuan greeted each person and took the remaining seat. Qian Bo poured tea. Manager Zhou has praised you repeatedly. He praised one suggestion repeatedly. Manager Zhou smiled. I told you he would say that. Gao Shun leaned forward. Then let us discuss something beyond property marketing. He placed a folder on the table. Inside were sales records from several supermarket branches. One branch had strong foot traffic but declining profits. Another had fewer customers yet produced better margins. What do you see? Gao Shun asked. Lin Yuan studied the figures. He did not answer immediately. The branch with more customers relied heavily on discounts. Its inventory turnover looked healthy until spoilage and promotion costs were included. The more profitable branch carried fewer product categories and sold more private label goods. The first branch is buying traffic, Lin Yuan said. Gao Shun nodded. And the customers are learning to wait for discounts. Each promotion weakens the next full price period. Solution? Reduce broad discounts. Use them only to attract customers into selected categories. Improve the products available beside the discounted items. Gao Shun tapped the folder. That would reduce traffic, possibly. Then, why do it? Because traffic is not the goal. What is? Customers who return without being paid to return. The Yaoguoin, Corin Warwan. Answer was simple enough to sound obvious. Yet several managers within Gao Shun's company had argued for larger promotions because they feared losing market share. Honda placed another document beside the folder. It contained the financial profile of a small logistics company requesting a loan. Would you approve this? Lin Yuan looked at the debt, repayment history, and projected contracts. The company depends on one customer. Yes. The customer contract expires before the loan. Yes. The collateral is insufficient. Honda smiled. So you would reject it? No. The smile faded. Lin Yuan pointed to the operating records. The owner has kept the company profitable through 2 difficult years. Vehicle maintenance is consistent. Driver turnover is low. The business itself is disciplined, but the risk is obvious. Then structure the loan around reducing that risk. How? Release the money in stages. Require proof of 2 additional customers before the second stage. T part of the repayment schedule to confirmed contracts rather than optimistic projections. Honda studied him. You would lend based on character? I would design the loan so character has room to become evidence. Qian Bo's fingers paused. Against his teacup, that sentence changed the atmosphere. These men had expected intelligence. Manager Zhou had promised that much. They had not expected a freshman to understand that finance was not only the measurement of risk, but the design of conditions under which risk could improve. Wu Jian opened the final folder. His company planned to release a compact air purifier. The technology was reliable, but the market already had larger international brands. We can price 15% lower, he said. Is that enough? No. Wu Jian's expression cooled slightly. Why? Because lower price tells customers you are cheaper. It does not tell them why they should trust you. Our quality tests are strong. Customers do not buy laboratory reports. What do they buy? Relief. Wu Jian waited. Lin Yuan turned the product mock-up toward him. Who needs this most? Families, offices, elderly customers. Too broad. Again the same problem Suqing had made. Businesses wanted every customer before earning one. Lin Yuan continued. Choose the group with the clearest pain. Parents with young children. People living near construction zones. Customers with allergies. Build the first campaign around one problem they already feel. Wu Jian looked toward the purifier. And after that? Let satisfied customers explain the product to everyone else. The manufacturer did not respond immediately. Qian Bo observed the silence with interest. 3 experienced business owners had each presented a problem. Lin Yuan had not tried to impress them with complexity. He reduced every issue to the person behind the numbers. A customer who had been trained to wait for discounts. A disciplined business owner trapped by a risky contract. A family buying relief rather than a machine. Manager Zhou had been right. The young man saw value before status. T was replaced twice. T was replaced twice. The discussion moved from prepared questions to real disputes. Zhao Shun believed speed mattered more than perfection during expansion. Wu Jian argued that manufacturing punished careless growth. Honda considered debt necessary for both. Lin Yuan rarely interrupted. When asked to choose a side, he refused the structure of the question. Speed matters when the process is repeatable. Perfection matters when failure harms trust. Debt matters when time has measurable value. Qianbo finally laughed. You agree with everyone. No. Then though. Then. Who is wrong? The person applying a correct principle to the wrong situation. The older investor looked at Manager Zhou. Where did you find him? He walked into my sales office. To ask for work. To buy an apartment. Gao Shun raised an eyebrow. At his age? With a loan, Lin Yuan said. He had no desire to let the story grow larger than the truth. Honda looked interested. Which bank? Lin Yuan named it. Interest rate? Lin Yuan told him. Repayment burden? He answered again. Honda calculated silently. The structure was careful. Not risk-free but controlled. You committed most of your available savings, the banker said. Yes, you advise caution more easily than you practice it. The challenge carried no hostility. Lin Yuan accepted it. I had stronger information about the apartment than I have about the businesses discussed today. What information? Location, university demand, current price, and the project's financial structure. All true. Incomplete, but true. He could not explain the subway line, technology park, and future commercial district without revealing knowledge no one should possess. Honda continued. And if your judgment is wrong, I work, repay the loan, and learn an expensive lesson. No excuses. No invisible family waiting to cover the loss. Only responsibility. Yet to the people around the table, that answer sounded like the confidence of someone who had never needed to fear a permanent fall. Qian Bo changed the topic. What business do you intend to build? I haven't chosen one. You identify other people's problems quickly. That doesn't mean I should build a company around the first one I see. Then what are you waiting for? A problem I understand well enough to stay with after the excitement disappears. The older investor smiled. Most young entrepreneurs wanted a profitable idea. Lin Yuan wanted a problem worth enduring. The difference was small in language and enormous in practice. When the meeting ended, Wu Jian asked for permission to test the customer positioning strategy. Zhao Shun invited Lin Yuan to visit one of his branches. Honda offered to review the apartment loan if Lin Yuan ever wanted a second opinion. Lin Yuan accepted each offer without exaggerating their meaning. Outside the courtyard, Manager Zhao walked him toward the bicycle. How did you find them? Experienced. That's all. They didn't need me to tell them how to run their businesses, yet you gave them useful answers. They wanted a perspective without responsibility. For their existing decisions, Manager Zhou stopped. That was more accurate than he wanted to admit. Insiders defended past choices. Outsiders could see the problem without defending their role in creating it. I told them you were unusual, he said. You should stop doing that. Why? It creates expectations. And you dislike expectations? I dislike expectations based on I dislike expectations based on imagination. Manager Zhao looked at the old bicycle. People are already imagining. Then they'll eventually be disappointed. I'm not certain. Lin Yuan unlocked the rear wheel. Manager Zhou watched him leave, then returned to the courtyard. Inside, Qian Bo was still seated. The others had gone. What did he say after the meeting? The investor asked. That I should stop calling him unusual. Qian Bo smiled. And what do you think? I think he knows exactly how attention works. Perhaps. The older man lifted his cup. Or perhaps he truly doesn't want it. Manager Zhou sat opposite him. Do you believe his background is ordinary? No. Why? Qian Bo considered the question. Not because of what he knows. He looked toward the courtyard entrance. Because he is not hungry. Manager Zhao understood. Young people entering powerful circles usually wanted something. Money, approval, access, employment. Lin Yuan had accepted conversation and offered value, but he had never leaned toward any reward. It was difficult to believe that someone from an ordinary family could stand before opportunity without reaching for it. They mistook restraint for abundance. Neither knew it had been created by regret. At the university, Su Qing had already begun recruiting tutors for the pilot program. Her first list contains 32 names. Lin Yuan crossed out 24. She looked at the page. You rejected 3/4 of them. Most have no experience teaching. They have excellent grades. Knowing an answer and explaining it are different skills. We need enough tutors to serve demand. We don't know the demand yet. Su Qing took back the list. 8 is too few. Then the pilot will reveal that. What if parents lose interest because we lack availability? Better than losing trust because we accept bookings we cannot serve well. She tapped her pen against the table. You reduce everything. At the beginning, and later, we expand what survives. Su Qing disliked moving slowly. Lin Yuan could see it in the way she wrote schedules, set targets, and prepared documents for problems that had not yet appeared. She was ambitious because she had spent years watching educational resources flow toward wealthy districts, while ordinary families accepted whatever remained. Her urgency was real. That made it more dangerous. Why are you doing this? Lin Yuan asked. She stopped writing. You read the proposal. The proposal explains the market. Not you. Su Qing remained silent for a moment. My younger cousin failed an entrance exam last year. Because he lacked a tutor? Because my aunt couldn't tell which tutors were reliable. She paid 3 agencies. One sent university students who skipped lessons. Another changed teachers every week. The third sold expensive packages and stopped answering after payment. Her fingers tightened around the pen. Good tutors exist. Families need them. But there is no trust between them. Now the business had a center. Not technology, trust. Lin Yuan turned the rejected list around. Then we test tutors before listing them. How? Short teaching demonstrations. Standard lesson plans. Feedback after every session. That requires more work. Yes, she met his eyes. This time, she did not argue. All right. They spent the afternoon designing the first screening session. Fang Hao joined after his programming class and offered to build a basic scheduling page. Su Qing asked how long it would take. 2 days. Lin Yuan looked at him. For a full platform? No. For a page with tutor profiles and booking requests. Can you do that in 2 days? Fang Hao nodded. My cousin showed me when I was younger. What does your cousin do? Su Qing asked. Something with websites. Lin Yuan suspected that something websites with websites could describe a major technology company. He did not ask. Zhao Kai arrived carrying drinks and declared himself responsible for marketing. Su Qing looked him over. What experience do you have? I understand attention. That is not a qualification. It is the beginning of every qualification. Chen Ming entered behind him. I came to review the budget before he spends it. Within an hour, the pilot had accidentally become a Room 407 project. Su Qing watched the 4 roommates work. Zhao Kai proposed visiting schools and parent groups instead of distributing generic flyers. Chen Ming created a simple cost model and identified the minimum booking fee needed to avoid losses. Fang Hao built the first version of the tutor registration form before anyone finished discussing it. Lin Yuan kept the group focused on the smallest test that could produce reliable information. They argued often. None of the arguments became personal. By evening, Su Qing had revised her opinion of them. Zhao Kai was showy, but he understood presentation and social energy. Chen Ming was cautious, but he never used caution as an excuse to avoid decisions. Fang Hao appeared sheltered, yet solved technical problems without asking for recognition. Lin Yuan held them together without acting like their leader. That was the strangest part. He did not give orders. He clarified the goal until everyone could see what needed to be done. The first tutor screening took place on Sunday. Only 5 of the 8 candidates passed. Zhao Kai expected Su Qing to lower the standard. She did not. The first parent group produced 12 inquiries. 6 became bookings. 2 canceled. 1 tutor arrived late. Another student needed a subject they did not offer. The pilot was messy. It was also real. At the end of the first week, 4 students had completed lessons. 3 parents requested repeat sessions. 1 parent sent a long complaint about communication. Su Qing read it twice. We failed. We found a failure, Lin Yuan said. That parent will never return. Probably not. She looked at him sharply. He did not soften the truth. But the next parent may stay because we fix it. The scheduling page gave parents confirmation but did not remind tutors directly. Fang Hao added automated notifications. Chen Ming adjusted the payment process, so tutors were compensated only after attendance confirmation. Zhao Kai rewrote the parent message to sound clear rather than promotional. The next 10 bookings ran without major problems. By the end of the second week, the pilot had 21 completed lessons and a repeat booking rate higher than Suqing expected. The numbers were small. The signal was not. They had found a genuine need. Suqing placed the results on the Entrepreneurship Center table. We should build the platform. Now we can discuss it, Lin Yuan said. Discuss? You still need to decide whether this becomes a university project or a real company. She looked at it. The pages. What's the difference? A project ends when the team becomes busy. And a company? It continues after everyone has a reason to quit. The words were not encouraging. They were necessary. Suqing looked toward the other three. Fang Hao was correcting the booking page. Chen Ming was comparing payment providers. Zhao Kai had gone to meet a student-parent association. They had already spent 2 weeks acting like a team. But none had discussed ownership, responsibilities, or what would happen after exams began. What would you choose? She asked. A company. The answer came without delay. Why? Because the problem remains even if the pilot ends. Suqing closed the folder. Then let's build it properly, they named. The service study bridge. The name was plain, clear, and available. Fang Hao registered the domain. Chen Ming drafted the initial ownership proposal. Zhao Kai complained that the logo looked boring, then produced 12 alternatives overnight. Lin Yuan wrote the operating principles on one page. Start narrow. Verify tutors. Protect trust. Expand only after the process works. Suqing read the final line. No aggressive growth. Not until we know what growth breaks. She signed beneath it. The others followed. Study Bridge began with no office, no formal employees, and less money than Zhao Kai had once spent on a birthday dinner. Its first assets were 5 tutors, a basic website, a shared spreadsheet, and 21 completed lessons. Yet when Suqing submitted the project results to the Entrepreneurship Center, the faculty advisor requested a private meeting. Professor Luo had taught economics and business strategy for nearly 20 years. He reviewed their pilot data, tutor process, and parent feedback. Then he looked at the 5 students seated before him. Who designed the testing structure? Suqing pointed toward Lin Yuan. We did it together. But he insisted we test manually first. Professor Luo turned to him. Why? Building technology before understanding the service would make mistakes faster. The professor leaned back. And the narrow market? We needed comparable customers. The fair tutor screening? The business depends on trust. Professor Luo looked at the one-page operating principles. Most student plans contain market size estimates, imagined revenue, and promises of rapid expansion. Study Bridge contained restrictions. Each restriction protected something. Quality, cash, trust, learning speed. Have you built a company before? He asked. No. Worked in one? Yes. The answer came naturally. Lin Yuan realized the mistake after speaking. Professor Luo noticed. What work? Sales, customer support, and basic operations. In your family shop? Some of it. Again, true enough to avoid lying. In his first life, Lin Yuan had moved through several small companies, rarely staying long because he always believed a more impressive position would improve his status. He had learned from each failure without understanding that he was learning. Professor Luo did not press further. Study Bridge qualifies for the university's seed support. Suqing's eyes brightened. How much? 30,000 yuan and 6 months of shared office access. Zhao Kai whispered. Our first funding. Chen Ming immediately opened the budget. Professor Luo raised a hand. There is a condition. The room quieted. You will report monthly operating data, not presentation data. Real data. What is presentation data? Fang Hao asked. The numbers people show when they want praise. Professor Luo looked at Lin Yuan. Real data includes what failed, what was refunded, what customers disliked, and what you still do not understand. Lin Yuan nodded, agreed. The professor's interest sharpened. No negotiation. No attempt to hide weakness. He approved the application. News of the funding spread through campus faster than the pilot itself. By the next morning, the story had changed again. Some students said Lin Yuan had secured investment from a private business group. Others claimed manager Zhou had introduced him to Professor Luo. One version insisted that Study Bridge was only a test project before Lin Yuan launched a larger education company. Zhao Kai read the rumors aloud in the dormitory. They think you're the founder. Suqing is the founder. They think she is the public founder. What does that mean? That you control everything from behind the scenes. Chen Ming looked at the ownership document. You hold 15%. Facts are losing badly. Lin Yuan said. Fang Hao looked concerned. Should we explain? Zhao Kai shook his head. Never fight an interesting rumor with boring truth. We should correct anything that harms the company, Lin Yuan said. Does this harm the company? Not yet. The phrase mattered. Attention could help a young business. It could also build expectations the team was not ready to meet. Lin Yuan asked Su Qing to keep all marketing focused on verified results rather than their identities. She agreed. StudyBridge launched its next stage with 50 available student places. All 50 were filled within 3 days. The demand came partly from parent referrals and partly from the rumors around the team. The new volume exposed new problems immediately. Tutors began requesting higher pay. Parents wanted more subjects. Scheduling conflicts doubled. One tutor copied parent contact information and tried to work privately. Su Qing wanted to remove him and continue. Lin Yuan insisted they change the system. If one person can take customers, another will. We cannot control everything. We can make honest behavior easier than dishonest behavior. They introduced tutor bonuses for repeat bookings, centralized lesson materials, and faster payment after confirmed sessions. The dishonest tutor was removed. 3 others chose to remain because the new structure gave them more predictable income. The crisis passed without public damage. Professor Luo reviewed the monthly report. It included the attempted customer theft in the first paragraph. He read it twice. Then he called Qianbo. The investor answered after several rings. You rarely contact me about student projects, Qianbo said. This one may interest you. What do they need? Nothing yet. Then why call? Professor Luo looked through the office window. Below, Lin Yuan and Su Qing were carrying borrowed chairs into the shared workspace, while Zhao Kai argued with a printer supplier. Because the young man manager Zhou mentioned is here. Qianbo became silent. You met him? He built an operating model. Before building a company. Manager Zhou said he thinks unusually. Professor Luo watched Lin Yuan stop to help another student team move a table. No. The professor closed the StudyBridge report. He thinks clearly. That afternoon. Qianbo sent Lin Yuan a message. I heard your project has begun. Congratulations, Lin Yuan replied. Thank you. We are still testing the second stage. No funding request. No invitation. No attempt to use the connection. Qianbo showed the reply to Manager Zhao that evening. He understands distance, the investor said. Manager Zhao read the short exchange. Or he doesn't need us. Everyone needs someone. Then why doesn't he ask? Qianbo looked toward the city skyline. Perhaps he is deciding whether we are useful. That interpretation spread faster than any truth. Within weeks, several business leaders began paying attention to StudyBridge. Not because the company was large. It was not. Not because the revenue was impressive. It was barely enough to cover operations. They watched because they believed Lin Yuan had chosen it. If a young man with his supposed background was willing to spend time on a small tutoring service, then perhaps he saw something others did not. One investor requested a meeting. Su Qing declined. We are not ready, she told Lin Yuan. He agreed. A second investor offered more money than the company needed. They declined again. A third offered introductions to private schools in exchange for a large share of the company. Zhao Kai wanted to negotiate. Chen Ming showed him how much control they would lose. He stopped wanting to negotiate. The repeated refusals created another misunderstanding. Investors concluded that StudyBridge had powerful backing and did not need capital. In reality, the team had enough money for 3 months and no confidence that expanding faster would improve the service. The attention reached its peak at the University Entrepreneurship Showcase. StudyBridge's booth was small. Su Qing presented the customer problem and pilot results. Fang Hao demonstrated the booking system. Chen Ming explained the operating model. Zhao Kai handled questions from visitors. Lin Yuan remained near the back, speaking only when necessary. Professor Luo brought Qianbo to the booth. The older investor arrived with manager Zhou Zhaoshun and Han Dehei. Their presence drew half the room's attention. Students whispered. Faculty members moved closer. Su Qing noticed the crowd but continued presenting. When she finished, Qianbo asked one question. What prevents a larger company from copying you? Su Qing answered first. Nothing prevents them from copying the website. Fang Hao nodded. The code isn't special, Chen Ming added. Our pricing can also be copied. Qianbo looked toward Lin Yuan. And what cannot be copied? Lin Yuan answered from behind the table. The trust we have not earned yet. The crowd became quiet. It was not a triumphant answer. It admitted the company's greatest asset did not fully exist. Lin Yuan continued. Trust is built lesson by lesson. If a larger company does that better, parents should choose them. You would surrender the market, we would improve. And if improvement is not enough, Then we did not deserve to keep the customers. Qianbo smiled. Around them, several students looked confused. The investors did not. Companies often spoke about defending markets. Lin Yuan spoke about deserving them. That philosophy was dangerous because it demanded constant value. It was also difficult to defeat. After the showcase, Study Bridge received the university's award for Best Validated Project. The prize was modest. The effect was not. Professor Luo introduced the team to an education research group. Hande arranged a small business banking account with lower transaction fees. Gao Shun offered access to parent communities near 2 of his supermarket branches. Wu Jian purchased tutoring packages for several employees' children. Each relationship opened another door. None had come from future knowledge alone. Lin Yuan had remembered Su Qing. He had known the need would grow. But the company survived because 5 people did the work. That difference mattered more with every passing day. That night, room 407 celebrated with food from the campus night market. Zhao Kai raised a paper cup. To our first award. Chen Ming corrected him. Study Bridge first award. We are part of Study Bridge. You missed 2 meetings. I was building external relations. You attended a concert. Relationships existed. There. Fang Hao lifted his cup. To 50 students. 73 now, Su Qing said from the doorway. The 4 roommates turned. She held a cake. Zhao Kai stood immediately. You should have told us you were coming. You would have ordered something unnecessary. I already did. The dormitory desk was covered with grilled skewers, noodles, fried chicken, and drinks. Su Qing placed the cake in the only empty space. For the first time since the project began, they discussed nothing about bookings, tutors, payments, or growth. They ate. They argued over music. Zhao Kai tried to convince Su Qing that the logo required more gold. She rejected the idea in 3 seconds. Fang Hao offered everyone coffee after midnight. Chen Ming confiscated the beans. Lin Yuan sat among them and listened. In his first life, he had wanted impressive friends. People whose names, clothes, and families made him look successful. He had never understood the difference between being seen beside someone and standing beside them when work became difficult. Now he had 3 roommates who had joined a project without asking whether it would make them rich. A founder who challenged him instead of admiring him. A professor who rewarded honest failure reports. Business leaders who offered help because he had first offered value. His network was beginning to grow. Not from the image he created, from the person he was becoming. Across the city, Qianbo held a smaller gathering than the one before. Only Manager Zhou and Professor Luo attended. On the table lay Study Bridge's public project report. Qianbo tapped the cover. He refused 3 investors. Professor Luo corrected him. The team refused. The decision came from him. You don't know that. Manager Zhou poured tea. He influences without taking the central position. Professor Luo looked at both men. You are still trying to explain him through his family. Family explains education. Manager Zhou said. Experience explains more. What experience can an 18-year-old have? Professor Luo thought of Lin Yuan's unfinished sentence during their first meeting. Worked in one. Not studied. Not observed. Worked. I don't know, he admitted. Qianbo closed the report. Then we continue watching. Manager Zhou asked. And if another investor moves first? The older man's smile was calm. Let them. You aren't concerned. Money is not the door to that young man. What is? Qianbo looked at the operating principles printed on the final page. Start narrow. Verify value. Protect trust. Expand only after the process works. Usefulness. He turned toward the dark window. If we want a place in his future, we should first prove we deserve one. The misunderstanding had changed. At first, they believed Lin Yuan belonged to a powerful family. Now, some of the city's most experienced business leaders had begun wondering whether earning his trust might be more valuable than discovering his name. And without realizing it, Lin Yuan had entered their circle. The first sign that the future had changed arrived through an ordinary news notification. Lin Yuan read it twice, then a third time. The city government had approved the Eastern Transit Extension. According to his memory, the announcement should not have come for another 18 months. Worse, the planned route was different. The original line had passed near Golden Horizon residence. The revised line turned south before reaching the university district. Lin Yuan enlarged the map on his phone. The station he had counted on no longer existed. Around him, room 407 continued its usual morning chaos. Zhao Kai searched for a missing shoe. Chen Ming reviewed Study Bridge's monthly expenses. Fang Hao tried to repair a coffee machine Zhao Kai had damaged by pressing every button at once. No one noticed Lin Yuan's silence. He opened the property documents. Golden Horizon still had university rental demand. The apartment would not become worthless. But the explosive increase he remembered was no longer certain. The future had moved. Not slightly. Structurally? Did someone die? Zhao Kai asked. Lin Yuan looked up. Zhao Kai had found the shoe beneath Chen Ming's desk. You've been staring at your phone like it betrayed you. The transit route changed. Chen Ming immediately understood. Near the apartment, it no longer passes the project. Zhao Kai. Stop. Joking. How serious? The property remains usable. Appreciation will be slower. Can you sell? Not without accepting a loss after fees. Feng Hao set down the screwdriver. My father says a loss is only final after you sell. Chen Ming glanced at him. That is not always good advice. My father is good advice. Usually adds more words. Lin Yuan folded the map and placed the phone aside. In his first life, he had remembered the subway line as a certainty. He had treated that memory like privileged information. Now it was wrong. The realization unsettled him more than the possible financial loss. If one major event had changed, others could change too. His memories were no longer a map. At best, they were old weather reports, useful for recognizing seasons, dangerous for predicting storms. Studybridge gave him no time to remain distracted. The company had expanded into 2 nearby districts after 3 months of stable operations. The number of active tutors had grown to 47, and weekly bookings had passed 300. Revenue increased. So did complaints. Parents wanted faster responses. Tutors disliked last-minute schedule changes. School holidays created sudden demand spikes. Suqing solved problems aggressively, often before the rest of the team finished discussing them, until the Monday when one of their partner schools suspended all outside tutoring programs. The decision arrived without warning. The school had accounted for nearly 1/3 of Studybridge's new customers. Zhao Kai rushed into the shared office carrying his laptop. They canceled next month's parent event. Suqing looked up. Why? New district guidance. Schools are reviewing outside education partnerships. Chen Ming checked the account records. We spent 12,000 yuan preparing materials and tutor schedules. Can any of it be recovered? Feng Hao asked. Some? How much is some? Not enough. Suqing opened the district notice. This isn't supposed to affect private tutoring services. Supposed to? Zhao Kai asked. It focuses on school-endorsed programs. We entered through a school-endorsed program. Suqing stopped. Scrolling. The office felt quiet. Lin Yuan read the notice. He remembered a much larger education policy shift from his previous life. But it should not happen for several years. Even then, it had begun nationally, not through scattered district reviews. Was this an early version? A temporary local reaction? Or something entirely new? He could not tell. Suqing turned toward him. What happened before? The question was carefully worded. She did not know about his rebirth, but she had noticed that he often recognized business patterns earlier than others. Lin Yuan looked at the notice again. I don't know. She waited. He had always given her something. A likely customer response. A hidden operating risk. A direction worth testing. This time, he had nothing reliable. I've seen similar regulatory pressure destroy tutoring companies, he said, but not under these conditions. How bad could it become? Bad enough that our current model may not survive. Zhao Kai stared at him. That bad? Possibly. Chen Ming closed the financial sheet. Possibly is not enough for a decision. No. Suqing stood. Then we get more information. Within 2 hours, the team divided the problem. Zhao Kai contacted parent groups and school organizers. Chen Ming reviewed contracts, cash reserves, and refund obligations. Feng Hao checked whether the platform could support services beyond direct tutoring. Suqing called every district office willing to answer. Lin Yuan studied the pattern instead of the memory. 3 districts had issued different versions of the same guidance. None banned tutoring. All reduced formal cooperation between public schools and private education providers. The immediate problem was not legality, it was trust. Parents had found Studybridge through school events. Without that connection, customer acquisition would become slower and more expensive. By evening, the numbers were clear. They had enough cash for 10 weeks under normal operations, 6 weeks if cancellations increased, 3 weeks if they refunded prepaid packages and continued paying tutors at current levels. Zhao Kai dropped into a chair. 3 months ago, investors were offering us money, Chen Ming said. We rejected it because we didn't need it. We need it now. Desperation produces bad terms. Running out of money produces worse ones. Suqing looked at Lin Yuan. He knew what everyone expected. A solution. In earlier months, he had always seemed to find one, but those answers had been built partly on a future that no longer behaved as expected. I need to say something clearly, he said. The others waited. Some of my earlier decisions were based on patterns I believed were reliable. Zhao Kai frowned. What patterns? Market changes. Policy direction. Development timing. Chen Ming studied him. You were more certain before. I was. And now? I'm not. The admission cost him more than he expected, In his first life, he had hidden uncertainty because he feared losing respect. Even after Rebirth, he had relied on future knowledge as a private advantage. Now that advantage was weakening in front of the people who trusted him most. Suqing did not look disappointed. She pulled a chair closer. Then we stop asking what will happen. She placed the district notices in the center of the table. We decide what to do if the worst happens. The others leaned in. It was the exact principle Lin Yuan had taught them from the beginning. Test what could be tested. Protect trust. Expand only after the process worked. He had been so focused on losing certainty that he had forgotten they had already built a method for surviving without it. Chen Ming began with cash. We freeze non-essential spending today. Zhao Kai nodded reluctantly. Marketing events, all school-based events. Parent referrals remain. Fang Hao added, I can pause new features and focus on communication tools. Suqing looked at Lin Yuan. What can survive if direct tutoring becomes restricted? He studied the service from its foundation. Parents did not only need tutors, they needed reliable educational support. Study planning, progress tracking, practice materials, small group workshops, university mentoring. Services that help students learn without depending entirely on paid academic instruction. The tutoring model may be exposed, he said. The trust network is not. Suqing understood first. We keep the verified tutors. Use them differently. For consultation? Some. We test study planning sessions, supervised practice groups, and university application mentoring. Zhao Kai asked, would parents pay for that? We don't know. He met Suqing's eyes. So we test it. By midnight. The team had designed 3 small pilots. The first offered 1-hour learning assessments for secondary school students. The second paired students with university mentors who helped them build weekly study plans. The third created supervised weekend study groups with limited academic guidance rather than full tutoring. None required school partnerships. All used resources StudyBridge already possessed. They sent the offers to 20 existing parent customers. 12 replied before morning. 8 were interested. 4 booked immediately. The response was promising but too small to solve the crisis. Then the cancellations began. The first day brought 11. The second brought 23. By the end of the week, more than 100 prepaid sessions had been withdrawn. StudyBridge processed every refund. Suqing refused to delay payments even when doing so would have extended their cash runway. If we protect ourselves by trapping parents' money, the company deserves to die. Lin Yuan agreed. The refunds reduced their remaining cash to less than 4 weeks. Their transparency had another effect. Parents began sharing the refund process in local groups. No arguments. No attempts to force customers into replacement packages. StudyBridge lost revenue but gained credibility. The new assessment service grew slowly. Many parents were confused by the idea of paying someone to identify problems instead of directly teaching a subject. Zhao Kai solved part of the problem by changing the message. The first version said, professional learning assessment and personal development planning. No one understood it. The new version said, find out why your child studies hard, but still falls behind. Bookings doubled. Chen Ming stared at the revised advertisement. I dislike the emotional pressure. It describes a real concern, Zhao Kai said. It also creates fear. Lin Yuan read it. Change find out why to understand why. Zhao Kai considered it. Leso Kai considered it. Aggressive. More trustworthy. They used the revised version. Bookings still increased. The weekend study groups performed better than expected. Parents liked the lower price. Students liked studying beside others without the pressure of formal lessons. Tutors liked earning predictable hourly pay. But the service margins were thin. Even at full capacity, it could not replace their previous revenue. By the 3rd week, StudyBridge faced its first payroll shortage. Chen Ming placed the figures on the table. We can pay tutors in full or keep enough cash for platform expenses and rent. Pay the tutors, Suqing said. Then we have 9 days. Pay them. No one argued. The tutors had already completed the work. Their payment was not optional. Chen Ming scheduled the transfers. That evening, Suqing remained in the office after everyone else left. Lin Yuan found her sitting beside the darkened window. The desks around them had been borrowed from the university. The walls still carried tape marks from the previous student team. StudyBridge had never looked impressive. Now it looked temporary. You should go back, she said. So should you. I created this. We created it. You joined because you saw potential. I joined because the problem mattered. She turned. What happens when the problem isn't enough? Then we find a better way to solve it. And if there isn't one? He did not answer quickly. False confidence would be easy. He could tell her the market would recover, that another investor would appear, that his knowledge guaranteed survival. None of those things were true. Then we close honestly, he said. Her eyes hardened. You can say that? I can say it because continuing dishonestly would destroy everything we built. She looked away. For several minutes, neither spoke. Then Suchin asked, Did you ever fail before? Many times. At 18? Not exactly. She glanced at him. He had given another strange answer. But she did not question it. What did failure teach you? That refusing to stop is not the same as perseverance. Then should we stop? No. This time, the answer came immediately. We still have customers. The new services are growing. The team remains capable. We have a cash problem. Not proof the business has no value. What changes that? Time. We have 9 days. Then we need either revenue, lower costs, or capital before 9 days pass. Suchin almost smiled. When you say it like that, it sounds simple. It isn't. But it is clear, yes. They returned to the numbers. The next morning, Lin Yuan contacted Handi. Not Qianbo, not Manager Zhou, the banker. He asked for advice, not rescue. Handi reviewed StudyBridge's accounts at the bank office. You refunded every customer immediately. Yes. You paid tutors in full. Yes. You rejected outside investment 3 months ago. Yes. Honda closed the report. And now you want a loan, a small credit line, with almost no physical collateral. Correct. Revenue falling. Correct. Regulatory uncertainty. Correct. The banker looked at him. You have constructed an excellent argument for rejection. I know. Then, why come? Because the company has repeat customers, verified service records, low fixed costs, and a new model producing revenue. Not enough revenue. Not yet. Handa tapped the report. How much? 100,000 yuan. For how long? 6 months. Repayment source? The new services. If they fail to reach the target within 8 weeks, we reduce operations and repay through remaining receivables and founder contributions. Honda raised an eyebrow. Founder contributions from where? My personal income and apartment rental once the unit is ready. You would risk your property for the company? No, I would risk my income. The apartment remains separate. Honda leaned back. The distinction pleased him. Lin Yuan was not throwing every asset into one desperate bet. He was defining the maximum loss. What do your partners contribute? Time, reduced compensation, and agreed repayment responsibilities based on ownership. They agreed? We haven't asked yet. Then you don't have a plan. I have a proposal. Honda handed back the file. Bring the full team tomorrow. The meeting lasted 3 hours. Chen Ming presented the financial controls. Fang Hao demonstrated service usage. Jiao Kai explained customer acquisition without school partnerships. Su Qing presented the 8-week targets and closure conditions. Handi asked each of them whether they understood the personal responsibility attached to the loan. All said yes. The bank still rejected the application. The company's history was too short. Its new model was unproven. Policy risk remained unclear. But outside the bank, Zhao Kai kicked the base of a streetlight. 3 hours for no. Chen Ming adjusted his folder. The questions improved our plan. The bank improved our plan while refusing to fund it. Useful institutions do that. Su Qing looked at Lin Yuan. He had expected the rejection, not because he remembered it, because the risk was real. We have 6 days, she said. Lin Yuan nodded. The next opportunity came from an unexpected direction. Wu Jian, the appliance manufacturer, called after hearing that StudyBridge had suspended part of its tutoring business. His company employed more than 800 factory workers. Many had children preparing for important exams. The company already provided meal and transport subsidies, but had no educational support program. Could your new study groups operate near the factory? He asked. Lin Yuan visited the site with Su Qing. The factory stood in an industrial district beyond the city center. Most employees lived in nearby residential blocks where tutoring agencies were limited and expensive. The need was obvious. So was the risk. One large company contract had nearly destroyed the logistics business Honda had, shown him months earlier. Depending on Wu Jian could save StudyBridge now and trap it later. Su Qing saw the same problem. We cannot let one client become more than 20% of revenue. Wu Jian looked impressed. Most struggling companies would ask how quickly I can pay. We want to know whether the service can survive after your contract ends, she said. They designed a 4-week pilot for 60 students. The company paid half up front. The amount gave StudyBridge 13 additional days, not survival time. The pilot began in a converted training room beside the factory dormitories. The students arrived tired after school. Some lacked quiet places to study at home. Others had parents working evening shifts. StudyBridge provided supervised study sessions, learning assessments, and weekly progress reports. Attendance remained above 90%. Parents responded well because the service operated near their homes. The factory's human resources department liked it because employees missed fewer shifts to manage their children's schedules. At the end of the second week, Wu Jian requested expansion to another facility. Lin Yuan refused. "We haven't completed the first pilot. The feedback is good. Good feedback during the first 2 weeks is not a stable process." Wu Jian stared at him. "Your company needs money, yes, and you are rejecting more. We are rejecting more. Delaying it. What's the difference? A refusal ends the opportunity. A delay protects it." Wu Jian laughed. "Manager Zhou was right about you." Lin Yuan did not ask what Manager Zhou had said. The factory pilot bought enough time for the parent-paid services to grow. But their target remained out of reach. They needed 200 recurring customers by the end of 8 weeks. At week 6, they had 128. The company could survive at 160. It could not repay the proposed credit line even if the bank reconsidered. The difference between survival and failure narrowed to 32 families. Zhao Kai pushed marketing harder. Too hard. One campaign promised noticeable academic improvement within 1 month. Su King removed it immediately. "We cannot guarantee that. It says noticeable, not measurable. That makes it worse. We need customers. We need customers who understand what they are buying." Zhao Kai argued until Lin Yuan entered the discussion. "Remove it." Zhao Kai looked at him. "You know we may close." "Yes, and you. Yes, and you. Still want the softer message? I want the true message. Truth doesn't always sell. Then we sell less." The words struck harder than Lin Yuan intended. Zhao Kai closed the campaign file. "For someone whose entire reputation comes from people misunderstanding him, you're very strict about wording." The room went still. Zhao Kai regretted the sentence immediately. Lin Yuan did not respond defensively. "You're right." Zhao Kai looked up. "I didn't mean... My reputation benefited from assumptions I did not create. That doesn't mean the company can make promises we haven't earned." He sat beside Zhao Kai. "You understand attention better than any of us. That's why we need you to make the truth interesting, not replace it." The anger left Zhao Kai's expression. He reopened the campaign. "Give me an hour." The new message showed actual student routines. No dramatic scores, no impossible promises. A student who completed homework on time for the first time in months. A parent who finally understood where her child struggled. A tutor explaining why consistent practice mattered more than one intense lesson. The campaign spread slowly. Then parents began sharing it. Not because it promised miracles, because it sounded like their children. By the end of week 7, StudyBridge reached 159 recurring customers, one below the survival threshold. The final customer joined through a referral from the parent who had submitted their first major complaint months earlier. She had returned after hearing how StudyBridge changed its communication process. Her daughter booked a learning assessment. Then a weekly study group. StudyBridge crossed the threshold without celebration. They were still far from safe. But they had proven that the new model could support itself. Honda called the following morning. "The bank can approve your credit line." Lin Yuan looked at the new cash forecast. "Under the original terms? Smaller amount, 80,000 yuan. 4-month review. Why reconsider? Your revenue stabilized. That alone isn't enough." "No." Honda paused. "You lost your largest acquisition channel, refunded customers without delay, paid workers before protecting your own cash, created a replacement service, and reached break even without taking desperate investment. Those are business results. They are character results supported by business records." Lin Yuan remembered the loan application Honda had shown him at their first tea meeting. A disciplined logistics company trapped by one customer. At the time, he had suggested designing conditions that allowed character to become evidence. Honda had done exactly that. "We'll review the final terms," Lin Yuan said. "You are not accepting immediately. A loan should solve a problem, not reward survival." The banker laughed. "Come tomorrow." The team accepted 60,000 rather than the full approved amount. Enough to protect operations, not enough to encourage careless expansion. StudyBridge ended the crisis smaller than its old tutoring plan but stronger than before. Its revenue came from several sources. No school partnership controlled its customer access. No single company represented more than 15% of income. Tutor retention improved because study groups offered predictable schedules. Parents trusted the company more because it had processed refunds honestly. The future had changed. The business had survived anyway. Golden Horizon was less fortunate. The transit announcement reduced buyer interest almost immediately. Several customers canceled reservations. The revised marketing campaigns softened the decline, but it could not replace the lost station. Manager Zhou invited Lin Yuan to the construction site. They stood inside the unfinished apartment while workers installed windows. The transport plan destroyed our original positioning, Manager Zhou said. Not completely. Investors disagree. They expected quick appreciation, and you didn't. I didn't. I did. Manager Zhao looked at him. Lin Yuan did not hide the mistake. I believed the route would come here. Based on what? An assumption I trusted too much. Manager Zhou waited for the elegant explanation. None came. You were wrong, he said. Yes. The words settled between them. Manager Zhou had never heard Lin Yuan admit a major error so plainly. What will you do with the apartment? Keep it. Why? The university still exists. Students still need housing. The project remains close enough to rent. The return is weaker, but the original asset is not broken. And if prices fall further, I accept that possibility. Manager Zhou walked toward the empty balcony. The changed route had created pressure inside his company. Several directors wanted to cut prices immediately. Others wanted to increase advertising and pretend the project remained unaffected. Neither approach addressed the real problem. What would you do with Golden Horizon? He asked. Lin Yuan joined him at the balcony. The university gate was visible beyond the road. Stop selling the future station. We already removed it. Not from the company's thinking. Manager Zhou turned. Explain. You're still treating the project as a failed investment property. Treat it as successful university housing. That lowers the market position. It clarifies the market position. We built larger shared spaces and premium facilities. Use them. For what? Study rooms, parent accommodation services, managed rentals, university partnership events. Make convenience the value instead of appreciation. Manager Zhou looked across the unfinished development. The facilities had been designed to justify luxury pricing. They could also support a stable residential community serving students, visiting parents, and university staff. Lower margins. Stronger occupancy. Less dependence on speculation. It would change the project, he said. The environment already changed it. Manager Zhou remained silent. Lin Yuan looked toward the apartment he now owned. The future memory that led him here had failed. But the knowledge he gained from a lifetime of studying markets remained useful. Prediction had opened the door. Judgment would decide whether he survived inside. Golden Horizon adopted the new positioning. Prices were reduced modestly rather than desperately. The developer introduced furnished rental management and converted part of the clubhouse into study and work areas. The project did not become the city's most valuable residential development. It reached 80% occupancy within 2 years. But that result began later. For now, the revised strategy stopped cancellations and stabilized sales. Manager Zhou presented the plan to his board without hiding its source. One director asked, "The university student again?" Manager Zhou nodded. "The same one who predicted the station? The same one who was wrong about it?" The director frowned. "Then why listen to him now? Because he changed his conclusion when the facts changed." Manager Zhao looked around the table. Half this room is still defending assumptions made 6 months ago. No one replied. News of the project's shift reached Qianbo. So did the study bridge crisis. The investor reviewed both stories carefully. Lin Yuan had failed twice. His property prediction had weakened. His company had nearly run out of money. Yet he had not hidden either problem. He had reduced risk, protected obligations, and changed direction before pride turned difficulty into disaster. Qianbo met Professor Luo at the university. "You knew Study Bridge was struggling," he said. "Yes. Why didn't you contact me?" "They didn't ask. They could have collapsed. They needed to know whether the company deserved to survive." Qianbo looked through the office window. Below, Study Bridge's team was setting up another parent workshop. "So they passed your test?" "It wasn't my test." Professor Luo closed a report. "The market tested them." That evening, Qianbo invited Lin Yuan to dinner alone. No business owners. No prepared case studies. Only 2 bowls of noodles at a small restaurant near campus. Lin Yuan arrived by bicycle. Qianbo was already eating. "Sit." Lin Yuan ordered the same noodles. For several minutes they spoke about nothing important. Campus food, construction noise, the difficulty of finding good tea near the university. Then Qianbo asked, "Did you know the tutoring environment would change?" "No." "Did you suspect it?" "Not soon enough." "And the transit line?" "I was certain." "Yet, you were wrong." "Yes." Qianbo smiled. Most people soften failure with context. Lin Yuan accepted it before explaining anything else. "Are you less confident now?" the investor asked. "Yes. That answer may disappoint the people who believe in you. It should reassure them. Why? Confidence should fall when uncertainty rises. Qianbo placed down his chopsticks. What remains when prediction fails? Lin Yuan thought of the past months. The apartment, study bridge, his roommates, Su Qing. The decisions made without certainty. Principles. Which ones? Do not risk what you cannot afford to lose. Study bridge nearly ran out of money. We could afford to close. We could not afford to keep parents' money dishonestly or leave tutors unpaid. Continue. Test reality before expanding. You expanded through schools. Too quickly. Continue. Change direction before defending the old one becomes more important than solving the problem. Qianbo nodded. And people? Lin Yuan looked at him. What about them? What principle applies to people? For once, the answer did not come from a business book or future memory. Trust them with the truth before asking them to share the risk. Qianbo leaned back. That was what Lin Yuan had done. He had admitted uncertainty to his team. Shown the complete financial danger. Allowed each member to choose whether to continue. None had left. The older investor finished his tea. People say your family trained you well. They didn't train me for this. Then who did? Lin Yuan looked toward the restaurant window. Students passed beneath the streetlights, talking loudly as they returned to campus. Consequences. Qianbo accepted the answer. He did not ask what consequences an 18-year-old could have experienced. For the first time, he suspected that the mystery around Lin Yuan might not involve a hidden family at all. But that possibility felt even harder to explain. When Lin Yuan returned to room 407, he found Zhao Kai asleep at his desk beside the new marketing plan. Shen Ming had left the company accounts open on his laptop. Fang Hao was testing an update that allowed parents to view study group attendance. From the lower bunk, Su Qing looked up from a stack of feedback forms. You were gone longer than expected. I had noodles with Qianbo. Zhao Kai woke immediately. You ate noodles with one of the city's largest investors? Yes. At least tell me it was an exclusive noodle restaurant. It cost 12 yuan. Zhao Kai placed his head back on the desk. Your life has no respect for dramatic settings. Su Qing held out a report. The factory pilot renewed for 3 months. Lin Yuan read the figures. Same size? They requested expansion. And? I delayed it until the second location completes a needs assessment. He looked at her. She had once wanted to scale before testing. Now she protected the process without being reminded. Good. Chen Ming woke at the sound of their voices. We also have enough cash to repay the credit line early if revenue holds for 2 months. Fang Hao turned his laptop around. And parents can kids. Now, see attendance without messaging us. Zhao Kai lifted one hand without raising his head. My campaign produced 43 inquiries. 39. Chen Ming corrected. 4 came after midnight. Check again. The room returned to its usual noise. Lin Yuan stood among them and felt something settle inside him. The future was no longer his. Perhaps it never had been. Every decision he made changed who he met, what they built, and how events unfolded. The more he succeeded, the less reliable his memories would become. That was not a punishment. It was proof that his second life was real. He no longer had to follow the path that had already killed him. Outside the university, Golden Horizon's new advertisements appeared across the district. Study near campus. Live with convenience. A home that remains useful after graduation. There was no promise of explosive appreciation. No future station. Only value the project could honestly provide. Inside the business circle, the story of Lin Yuan changed again. He was no longer merely the mysterious heir who predicted opportunities. He became the young man who remained calm when predictions failed. The one who paid others before protecting himself. The one who refused expansion while desperate for money. The one who admitted mistakes without losing direction. People had first respected him because they believed he could see the future. Now they respected him because he could continue when he could not. And that reputation was far more dangerous. The reputation brought opportunities faster than Study Bridge could accept them. A regional education conference invited Su Qing to speak about alternative learning support. A technology company offered free cloud services in exchange for a public partnership. 2 universities asked whether Study Bridge could reproduce its model on their campuses. 3 investors returned with larger offers and softer terms. The team rejected most of them, not because they feared growth. Because they had finally learned what growth could break. Study Bridge expanded 1 district at a time. Each new location needed verified mentors, local parent feedback, and someone responsible for quality. Fang Hao rebuilt the platform around those requirements, instead of adding features simply because competitors had them. Chen Ming created financial limits that prevented any district from spending money based on expected future revenue. Zhao Kai turned real student progress into stories parents understood without promising miracles. Su King managed the expansion with the same urgency as before, but no longer treated speed as proof of courage. Lin Yuan noticed the change during a planning meeting. She had received an invitation from a private school network covering 6 cities. The contract could triple StudyBridge's users within a semester. In the past, she would have asked how quickly they could begin. Now she placed the proposal on the table. We should reject it. Zhao Kai looked up sharply. Did I hear correctly? Chen Ming read the contract. The revenue is attractive. The service requirements are not, Su Qing said. They want the StudyBridge name. But their own staff will select mentors and control parent communication. Feng Hao frowned. Then we cannot verify quality. Exactly. Zhao Kai leaned back. Who are you? And what have you done with our founder? Su Qing ignored him. Lin Yuan closed the proposal. Rejected. I already drafted the reply. That earned her a brief smile. She noticed. Neither mentioned it. StudyBridge's first full year ended with modest profit. The number looked small beside the companies that appeared in business magazines, but it represented something more valuable. The company no longer depended on university funding. It no longer relied on one school, one factory, one investor, or one service. Parents paid because the support worked. Mentors stayed because the system treated them fairly. Students returned because StudyBridge helped them build habits instead of selling temporary hope. Professor Luo reviewed the annual report in silence. When he reached the final page, he removed his glasses. You included every refund. Chen Ming nodded. And every failed district test. Yes. Most companies remove those from public reports. This isn't public, Zhao Kai said. Professor Luo looked at him. Would you remove them if it were? Zhao Kai considered the question. A year ago. Probably. And now? Now, I would present them properly. Chen Ming frowned. What does properly mean? It means explaining what failed without making us look incompetent. That sounds like hiding. It sounds like communication. Their argument? Continued. Professor Luo turned to Lin Yuan. You've built a strange team. They built themselves. That answer is becoming predictable. It remains true. Professor Luo placed the report down. The university wants to nominate StudyBridge for a national student entrepreneurship program. Su Qing immediately asked, what does it involve? Regional selection, national review, and a final presentation in the capital. Zhao Kai sat straighter. Television, possibly. He adjusted his jacket. We accept. We haven't discussed it, Chen Ming said. National exposure could create uncontrolled demand, Su Qing added. Feng Hao asked, will we need to change the system? All 4 looked toward Lin Yuan. He looked back. Why are you asking me? Zhao Kai spread his hands. Because you usually say the sentence that makes us understand the problem. The program is not the problem. What is what we want from it? The room quieted. Professor Luo watched with interest. Lin Yuan continued. If we enter for attention, the attention may arrive before the company is ready. If we enter to test whether our model works outside this city, the program can be useful. Su Qing nodded slowly. Then we choose one partner city and treat the competition as a controlled expansion, Chen Ming added. With a fixed budget, Feng Hao said, and separate platform permissions. Zhao Kai sighed. Fine. We will become nationally famous in a controlled and financially responsible manner. Professor Luo approved the nomination. The regional selection took place 6 weeks later. StudyBridge was not the most impressive project. One team had developed agricultural drones, another created medical imaging software, a third had already raised millions in investment. StudyBridge presented tutoring records, mentor systems, parent retention, refund policies, and the results of its first expansion district. The judges seemed interested but not excited. Then one asked Su Qing, what is your competitive advantage? She answered without looking at Lin Yuan. We do not begin with technology. The judge frowned. You are an education platform. We begin with trust. Technology records, supports, and scales the process after it works. That sounds difficult to defend. It is. Then why invest in it? Because education should be difficult to fake. The room changed. Another judge asked, what stops tutors and parents from leaving your platform? Nothing, Su Qing said. A few people exchanged glances. She continued. We do not trap them. We make staying more useful than leaving. Chen Ming explained predictable payment and scheduling. Feng Hao demonstrated progress records that remained accessible across mentors. Zhao Kai showed how parent referrals grew without aggressive discounts. Lin Yuan spoke last. He did not describe the size of the education market. Every team had already done that. He showed one student's record. The student had not become the highest scorer in her class. Her improvement was less dramatic. Before study bridge, she missed assignments, changed tutors repeatedly, and believed she was poor at mathematics. After 6 months, her grades rose steadily. More importantly, she completed work without being chased, understood where she struggled, and had chosen to continue studying the subject. "We did not create a miracle," Lin Yuan said. "We created a process she could trust long enough to improve." Study bridge won the regional selection. The first national article appeared the next morning. Its headline called Lin Yuan, the mysterious strategist behind a rising education company. The article mentioned his early property investment, his connection with several business leaders, and his refusal of outside capital. It described StudyBridge as a carefully planned move into a future national industry. Almost none of that was entirely false. Together, it created a person Lin Yuan barely recognized. Zhao Kai read the article aloud in room 47. Raised with unusual business discipline, he looked at Lin Yuan. "True, my parents taught me to restock shelves. Deep understanding of capital cycles. I lost money repeatedly in my previous life." "What?" "Nothing," Zhao Kai continued. "Maintains close relationships with prominent investors while avoiding public attention." Chen Ming looked over. "You do avoid public attention, because articles like this exist." Fang Hao scrolled through the zest comments. "People are asking which family you belong to. They've been asking for a year. One person says your father controls an overseas fund. My father controls a calculator with 3 missing buttons." Zhao Kai lowered the phone. Yu Kai lowered the phone. "Should bring your parents here one day." The suggestion struck Lin Yuan harder than expected. He had visited home several times, but always alone. His parents knew he was helping with a student company. They knew the apartment had not collapsed in value. They knew he had made friends. They did not know how widely his name had begun to spread. In his first life, he had avoided introducing his parents to anyone. Their clothes were ordinary. Their speech carried a county accent. His father did not understand wine, watches, or business etiquette. His mother asked practical questions at inappropriate moments and packed food into reused containers. Lin Yuan had once been ashamed of the 2 people who sacrificed the most for him. The memory remained one of the ugliest parts of his first life. "You're right," he said. Zhao Kai blinked. "I am? I'll invite them after the national event." Zhao Kai looked toward Chen Ming. "Record the date." The national program brought the team to the capital for 5 days. It was the first time all 5 had traveled together. Zhao Kai packed 3 suitcases. Chen Ming packed 1. Fang Hao brought a laptop bag, a backpack, and enough snacks for the entire train carriage. Su Qing arrived with 1 small suitcase and a folder of printed documents. Lin Yuan carried the same old backpack he had used on registration day. Zhao Kai stared at it. "You own several newer bags. This one works. It has survived too much. So have we. That is not a reason to bring it on national television." At the hotel, the organizers placed 2 project teams on each floor. The room assignments separated Su Qing from the 4 men, which Zhao Kai declared evidence that the organizers lacked faith in team unity. Chen Ming shut the hotel door before he finished speaking. The first day included workshops with founders, investors, and government representatives. Most speakers discussed scale, national markets, capital strategy, brand building. StudyBridge's team listened carefully. During one session, a famous technology founder told the participants that speed was the only true advantage for young companies. "If your idea is good, 10 others are already building it," he said. "Move faster than they can." Several students wrote the sentence down. Su Qing did not. The founder noticed. "You disagree?" She stood. "Sometimes." The room turned toward her. "When does speed become harmful?" he asked. "When the company has not learned what customers actually trust. Competitors will learn why you are still zero testing. Then they may win." The founder smiled. "You accept that?" "I accept that becoming large before becoming useful is another form of failure." The discussion spread through the room. Some agreed. Others believed StudyBridge's caution only worked because education moved slowly. Lin Yuan said nothing until the founder asked him directly. "You built the strategy, we built it together. Then answer. Would you rather control a small market well or lose a national opportunity? Those are not the only choices. What is the third? Build something another person can operate well before repeating it nationally." The founder leaned against the podium. "Systems, yes. Systems slow founders down. They allow companies to survive founders." The answer pleased him. After the session, he handed Su Qing his card, not Lin Yuan. That pleased Lin Yuan more. StudyBridge was no longer being treated as his hidden project. Su Qing was being recognized as its founder. That evening, she found him on the hotel terrace. The capital stretched beneath them in white lights and dark glass. "You didn't speak much today," she said. "You handled it. That usually doesn't stop you." "I didn't need to correct anything." She stood beside him. The air was cold enough to carry their breath. "People still think the company belongs to you. They are wrong. You could correct them more forcefully. I do when it matters. It matters to me." He turned. The Sioux King kept her eyes on the city. "When investors speak to us, they look at you first. When reporters ask about strategy, they ask what you decided. Even when I answer, some of them assume you allowed me to." Lin Yuan understood. His silence had not always protected her. Sometimes it had allowed the misunderstanding to continue. "I should have done more," he said. Su Qing looked at him then. No defense. No explanation. Only acknowledgement. "What will you do? Tomorrow, you lead the presentation." "I already lead it. Then, I answer only questions about my responsibilities. If they ask about company direction, I redirect them to you. That may look deliberate. It will be deliberate." A faint smile appeared. "Good." The next day, Study Bridge presented before a national panel. Su Qing opened. She explained the problem, the company, and the expansion model. When a judge asked Lin Yuan why he had chosen education, he answered honestly. "Su chose education. I chose to support a problem worth solving." The judge shifted. "But you designed the company's strategy." "No. I helped design the testing process." Su Qing made the decision to continue when the first model nearly failed. Another judge asked about rejecting investors. Lin Yuan replied, the team rejected them. A reporter asked whether he planned to remain the decision-maker behind Study Bridge. He looked toward Su Qing. "I have never been its hidden decision-maker." The reporter seemed surprised. "Then why does the industry describe you that way?" "Because mystery is easier to publish than teamwork." Laughter moved through the room. The sentence appeared in several articles by evening. So did Su Qing's name. For the first time, national coverage described Study Bridge as a company founded and led by her, supported by a student team whose operating strategy had attracted experienced business mentors. It was more accurate. It also changed something between them. After the final presentation, Su Qing found Lin Yuan near the exhibition hall exit. "Thank you. I corrected a false impression. You could have corrected it earlier." "Yes," she studied him. "You're becoming easier to criticize. Is that good?" "Very." The national program awarded Study Bridge second place. Zhao Kai complained for 8 minutes. "We had the strongest presentation." Chen Ming said, "The medical project has completed clinical testing. That doesn't make their stage design better. They are developing a diagnostic tool. Their font was too small." Fang Heo examined the silver trophy. "Second place still gets support." "Thi gets support." Award included access to national university networks, a small grant, and 6 months of mentorship. More important than the prize, 3 universities agreed to host controlled Study Bridge pilots. The expansion began after they returned. This time, the process did not depend on Lin Yuan's memory. They had no memory of those cities, no knowledge of future policies, no hidden timeline advantage. They relied on interviews, small tests, financial limits, and local teams. One pilot failed. Parents preferred established local agencies. Study Bridge withdrew after 6 weeks. The second reached break even but struggled to retain mentors. They redesigned compensation. The third succeeded quickly, because the university already had a strong volunteer tutoring culture. The different results taught them more than one perfect expansion could have. Study Bridge became a national company slowly. Not because its name appeared everywhere, because its process worked in places where its founders were absent. By the end of the second year, it operated in 7 cities. Its revenue was large enough to attract serious acquisition offers. One education group offered a sum that would make every founder wealthy before graduation. The meeting took place in a glass office overlooking the river. The acquiring company's chairman praised Study Bridge's trust model, mentor network, and reputation. Then he explained his plan. Study Bridge would keep its name for 2 years. Its users would be moved into the group's larger platform. The mentor standards would be relaxed to accelerate expansion. Higher-priced tutoring packages would be introduced to increase profit. Su Qing closed the proposal. "Then you don't want Study Bridge," the chairman smiled. "We want what you built. You want the customers. Customers are part of what you built." Lin Yuan asked, "What happens to families who cannot afford the higher packages?" "We will maintain entry-level options, with the same mentor standards." The chairman did not answer directly. "We must balance social value with commercial reality." Su Qing stood. "Then build your own balance." The meeting ended. Outside, Zhao Kai looked back at the tower. "That was more money than I expected to see before 30, Chen Ming said. The offer undervalued long-term revenue. I was speaking emotionally. So was Su Kane. She turned. I was not. You rejected the chairman before he finished. He finished when he said standards would be relaxed. Fang Hao nodded. We would lose. Parents' trust. Zhao Kai sighed. Why did I become friends with people who make responsible decisions? Lin Yuan looked at Su Qing. She had not asked his opinion before rejecting the offer. She had not needed to. The company had become something real enough to defend. That night, they returned to the original study bridge office. The university had offered them a larger space. But they kept one room for team meetings. The old desks had been replaced. The tape marks remained. Su Qing placed the acquisition proposal on the table. Does anyone regret it? No, Chen Ming said. Fang Hao shook his head. Zhao Kai raised one hand. I regret that they didn't offer enough to create a harder decision. Everyone looked at Lin Yuan. He thought about his first life. Back then, he would have accepted immediately. The money alone would have proven that he had succeeded. He would have ignored what happened afterward, because the public victory mattered more than the private loss. Now he understood something simple. Selling a company was not failure. Selling its purpose for validation was. No regret, he said. Su Qing nodded. The matter ended. Their relationship changed quietly after that. There was no confession, no dramatic misunderstanding. They simply began spending more time together after the others left. Sometimes they discussed study bridge. Sometimes they did not. Su Qing learned that Lin Yuan liked cheap street noodles more than private dining rooms. He learned that she bought notebooks faster than she used them. She disliked sweet coffee, but always accepted half of Fang Hao's desserts. He kept old receipts because they reminded him of decisions, not purchases. One evening, they walked back to campus after inspecting a new mentor center. Rain began halfway across the bridge. Su Qing opened an umbrella. It was too small for both of them. Lin Yuan moved toward the edge. She pulled him closer by the sleeve. You're still getting wet. The umbrella covers you. That isn't the goal. What is? Both of us arriving without looking ridiculous. He stepped under properly. Their shoulders touched. Neither moved away. Below the bridge, traffic passed through reflected light. Su, King asked, why did you choose this life? Lin Yuan looked at her. This life? The way you live. She searched for the right words. You could use your connection. You could take more money, build faster, appear in every article. People already believe you're important. I spent too long trying to appear important. In high school. Something like that. She waited. He could not tell her everything. Not yet. But he no longer wanted to hide behind polished half-truths. I used to think respect came from looking successful, he said. I cared about brands, expensive places, and who saw me with whom. I understood the appearance of wealth better than the purpose of it. What changed? I reached the end of that path. She looked at him beneath the rain, and was empty. Su Qing did not ask how an 18-year-old had reached the end of anything. She only tightened her grip on the umbrella. Then don't return to it. I won't. They continued walking. At the dormitory entrance, Zhao Kai spotted them sharing the umbrella. He pulled Chen Ming toward the window. I told you. You have told me many unsupported things. They are walking close together. The umbrella is small. Exactly. Symbolism. Fang Hao appeared behind them holding a bowl of noodles. Should we go downstairs? No, Zhao Kai said. We preserve the moment. Chen Ming looked at him. You are watching through a window. We preserve it from here. Lin Yuan and Su. Qing entered the building to find all three men sitting unnaturally straight. Zhao Kai spoke first. How was the weather? Wet, Su Qing said. Romantic. Chen Ming closed his eyes. Fang Hao offered her noodles. She accepted them. The moment ended in laughter. Several weeks later, Lin Yuan's parents visited the city. His father wore the same dark jacket he used for weddings and important supplier meetings. His mother carried 2 bags of homemade food and complained that train station prices were unreasonable. Lin Yuan met them outside Golden Horizon. His mother looked up at the completed building. This is really yours? The bank owns part of it. His father nodded approvingly. That is an honest answer. The apartment was rented most of the year, but Lin Yuan had left it empty for their visit. His mother inspected every cabinet. His father tested the taps. Neither cared about the property value. They cared whether the windows sealed properly, and whether the kitchen could use a gas stove. That evening, Lin Yuan brought them to River Pavilion. The entire study bridge team attended. So did Manager Zhou and Professor Luo. Feng Hao's parents had insisted on hosting after learning Lin Yuan's family was visiting. Lin Yuan felt old tension return as they entered the private room. His mother's coat was simple. His father's shoes had been repaired once. They did not know the business leaders present. For a brief moment, the habits of his first life whispered that they would embarrass him. Then his mother handed Su Qing a jar of pickled vegetables. Lin Yuan said, "You often work late. Eat this with porridge." Su Qing accepted it with both hands. "Thank you, Auntie." His father shook Manager Zhou's hand. "Thank you for helping my son with the apartment. He makes decisions quickly. Please tell us if he causes trouble." Manager Zhou looked at Lin Yuan. The mysterious young master sat beside parents who spoke openly about loans, worry, and a small county shop. Nothing about them suggested hidden power. Nothing had been arranged for effect. The truth stood in the room without apology. Lin Yuan introduced everyone properly. "My roommates, my professor, Manager Zhou, who gave me my first useful business connection. Su Qing, the founder of StudyBridge." Not one title was exaggerated. During dinner, his mother asked Tianbo whether wealthy people also compared vegetable prices. The investor laughed. Every week, she immediately liked him. His father spoke with Wu Jian about factory workers from their county. Fang Zheng discovered that Lin Yuan's parents had once supplied basic goods to one of River Pavilion's smaller kitchens through a distributor. The connection was ordinary and distant, yet everyone treated it as proof the world had been preparing their meeting. Lin Yuan watched his parents speak freely. No shame came. Only regret that he had ever believed their simplicity lowered him. Su Qing noticed his silence. "Are you all right?" "Yes, you look emotional. My mother will ask whether you eat enough in 3 minutes." Su Qing looked toward the other side of the table. His mother was already preparing a container of leftovers. 2 minutes, she said. After dinner, Manager Zhou stood beside Qianbo near the restaurant entrance. "So there is no hidden family," Manager Zhou said. Qianbo watched Lin Yuan's father insist on carrying both luggage bags himself. "It appears not. We investigated for 2 years. That was your decision." Manager Zhou looked troubled rather than embarrassed. "Then where did he learn everything?" Qianbo did not know, but he no longer believed the answer mattered. A family background explained where someone began. It did not explain what they chose after difficulty arrived. Across the entrance court, Lin Yuan's mother adjusted his collar in front of everyone. He allowed it. Su Qing looked away to hide a smile. Zhao Kai failed to hide his. The scene spread through their business circle before the night ended. The untouchable heir's parents had arrived. They ran a small shop. The rumor should have collapsed. Instead, a new interpretation appeared. Perhaps the family had deliberately remained ordinary. Perhaps the parents represented a hidden branch. Perhaps their simplicity proved an even deeper kind of power. People who had spent years believing the mystery refused to surrender it in one evening. Lin Yuan heard the latest version from Zhao Kai. "They now believe your family hides wealth through extreme normality. My mother argued over a 2 yuan parking fee. According to the rumor, that proves discipline. My father asked whether River Pavilion offers employee meal discounts. Long-term operational thinking." Lin Yuan stared at him. Zhao Kai raised both hands. "I did not create this one." Su Qing closed her notebook. "Correcting them is useless. You're agreeing with Zhao Kai. Only this once." Fang Hao looked thoughtful. "Maybe people like the story," Chen Ming said. Yan Ning said, "People like explanations that protect their earlier judgment." Lin Yuan leaned back in his chair. For years, influential people had believed he came from an untouchable family. Now they had met the truth, and built a larger misunderstanding around it. He should have felt frustrated. Instead, he laughed. Not bitterly, not carefully. He laughed until the others joined him. StudyBridge continued growing. Golden Horizon became a stable university community. His roommates became more capable, more irritating, and more important to him. Su Qing became the person whose criticism he trusted most and whose presence he noticed before anyone else's. His parents returned home with photographs, leftover desserts, and no understanding of why so many wealthy people had treated them with respect. The life Lin Yuan once tried to imitate was gathering around him, naturally. Not because of what he wore, not because of the family people imagined behind him, because he had become useful, reliable, and honest enough that others wanted him beside them. By graduation, StudyBridge operated in 23 cities. Its national reputation rested on verified mentors, transparent results, and an expansion system that had survived both failure and distance. Reporters still called Lin Yuan its hidden strategist. He continued correcting them. Su Qing continued leading it. The business circle continued inviting him into larger decisions. The mystery around his family remained, though fewer people cared about solving it. They had begun to understand something more important. Even if Lin Yuan had come from nowhere, he was building somewhere worth following. And the foundation was finally real. The truth finally surfaced because of a university interview that should have been harmless. Azure River University planned a graduation feature on Study Bridge. The communications office wanted a simple story. 5 students met in a dormitory. They built a company. They survived early failure. They expanded nationally before graduation. The article would include photographs, childhood backgrounds, family comments, and a short section on where each founder planned to go next. Zhao Kai approved immediately. This is the exact kind of article our parents will send to every relative. Chen Ming read the interview form. They want proof of family information. Normal journalism. They also want childhood photographs. Zhao want childhood photographs. Kai looked toward Lin Yuan. Do you have any? Unfortunately. Fang Hao smiled. My mother has albums. Your mother probably has a private archive? Zhao Kai said. She keeps everything. Su Qing sat beside the conference table. Reviewing the questions, her attention stopped on one line. Please describe the experience that first inspired your business thinking. She looked at Lin Yuan. What will you write? The family shop. Is that true? Partly. She waited. Over the years, she had learned when he was leaving space around an answer. Not lying. Never lying. But choosing the smallest truth that closed the subject. Lin Yuan looked at the form. The family shop had taught him practical things. Inventory mattered. Customers remembered how they were treated. Small losses repeated daily became large ones. But it had not taught him the lessons that shaped Study Bridge. Those came from another life. From debt, failure, humiliation. Years spent studying success while performing it badly. He had hidden the truth because revealing it was impossible. Even now, saying it aloud would sound like madness. I'll think about it, he said. Su Qing did not press him. The interview took place 2 days later. A university photographer arranged the 5 founders inside the original Study Bridge office. The old tape marks remained on the wall. Zhao Kai insisted they be included. They show history. They show damaged paint, Chen Ming said. History often looks like damage. The journalist began with easy questions. How had they met? Who proposed the company? What was the first major problem? What did each member contribute? Su Qing described the original tutoring idea. Lin Yuan explained the manual pilot. Fang Hao spoke about building the first booking page. Chen Ming described the financial structure. Zhao Kai claimed responsibility for making people understand why Study Bridge mattered. No one corrected him because it was true. Then the journalist turned toward Lin Yuan. Many people describe you as the person who recognized the company's potential before anyone else. Su Qing recognized the problem first. But you understood the business model. I helped test it. You understood the business model. I helped test it. Also advised Golden Horizon before entering university. One marketing suggestion. And several respected investors began consulting you while you were still a freshman. They asked questions. I answered some of them. The journalist smiled. You are very careful with credit. I'm careful with accuracy. Then, let us be accurate. She checked her notes. Your parents operate a small household goods shop in Long County? Yes, you attended ordinary public schools. Yes, you had no formal investment training before university. No. You had no relatives in major business circles. No. Yet by 18, you understood property positioning, customer acquisition, financial risk, and operational design at a level that caught the attention of experienced executives. The room became quiet. It was not an accusation, but it was the question everyone had asked for years. The journalist leaned forward. How? Lin Yuan had prepared an answer. He could say he read widely. He could mention working part-time. He could discuss observing his parents. All true. None sufficient. Su Qing watched him without moving. Zhao Kai's usual amusement had disappeared. Chen Ming looked down at the blank table. Fang Hao waited openly. These were the people who had shared the risk when his certainty failed. People he had told to trust one another with the truth before asking them to share danger. Yet the largest truth of his life remained entirely his. Lin Yuan folded his hands. I learned through failure. The journalist nodded. What failure? A life built around pretending. She expected a story about high school. So did the others. Lin Yuan continued. I wanted people to think my family had money. I studied expensive brands, business etiquette, luxury products, investments, and the habits of wealthy people. Zhao Kai looked at him. You did all that before university. Lin Yuan met his eyes. Not exactly. The journalist lowered her pen slightly. He could still retreat. He could explain that he meant emotional maturity. A previous version of himself. a symbolic life. Instead, he thought of his first death. The cold pavement. The regret that had followed him into darkness. The first morning at Azure River University, when he opened his eyes and received everything again. "I remember living an entire life before this one," he said. No one spoke. The photographer slowly lowered his camera. The journalist blinked. "I'm sorry? I died as an adult." The sentence sounded absurd even to him. "I woke again on university registration day." Zhao Kai gave a short laugh. It ended immediately when Lin Yuan did not join him. Su Qing's eyes remained fixed on his face. Chen spoke first. "You believe you were reborn?" "Yes, with complete memories." "Enough. What was your name?" "Lin Yuan." "Same parents? Same life? Same world?" I returned to an earlier point. Fang Hao looked at the old backpack near the wall. "Registration day?" "The day we met." The journalist glanced toward the communications officer standing near the door. The officer looked equally lost. This was no longer a normal graduation interview. The journalist asked carefully, "Are you speaking metaphorically?" "No." "Do you understand how this sounds?" "Yes." "Can you prove it?" "No." The answer came without hesitation. He could make predictions, but the future had already changed. He could reveal private details. That would violate people who had never agreed to become evidence. He could describe events before they happened. Some might still occur. Others would not. "I cannot prove the mechanism," he said. "I can only explain the source of what I knew." The journalist looked towards Su Qing. She seemed to expect the founder to end the interview. Su Qing asked instead, "How old were you when you died?" 36. Zhao Kai whispered, "You're technically the oldest person here." Chen Ming gave him a sharp look. "What? It matters." The weak joke broke the stillness but not the tension. Su Qing continued, "What happened in that life?" Lin Yuan looked around the original office. The company they had built. The friends he had not known before. The future he had changed. "I spent years trying to look successful." His voice remained steady. "I borrowed money to buy things I could not afford. I chose friends based on status. I entered businesses because they sounded impressive, not because I understood them. I studied successful people closely enough to imitate them, but not honestly enough to become one." No one interrupted. "I learned real skills by accident. Sales, customer behavior, investment mistakes, operations, negotiation, but I kept using those skills to support an image." The journalist's pen moved again. Slower now. "Did you become wealthy?" "No." "How did you die?" Lin Yuan paused. "Alone and deeply in debt." He gave no further detail. He did not need to. The room understood the shape of the ending. Su Qing's expression tightened. "Your parents, I disappointed them." His gaze dropped briefly. "They worked their entire lives and believed I was doing better than I was. I avoided going home because I was ashamed of the truth, and ashamed of them for not matching the image I wanted. The shame of that confession felt heavier than admitting rebirth. I died before I could repair it." Fang Hao's eyes lowered. Zhao Kai no longer looked ready to joke. Lin Yuan continued. "When I woke on registration day, I decided I would not pretend again." The journalist looked through her earlier notes. The apartment. "I remembered the district becoming valuable, the transit line, in my first life. It passed near Golden Horizon, but the route changed. Yes, study bridge. I remembered Su Qing becoming successful in education technology." Everyone turned toward her. Su Qing did not look surprised. Perhaps some part of her had already suspected that his early recognition contained more than ordinary insight. "What happened to my company?" she asked. "Your first project failed. Why?" "You expanded before understanding the service. You spent too much on a platform. A partner copied part of the model. You left university for a year." Her face went still. The description matched fear she had never said aloud. "Did we know each other?" "No." "Then how did you know me?" "Interviews. Articles. Business case studies." Zhao Kai leaned back slowly. "So when you saw her at the club fair, I recognized her. You told me you saw her during registration. I said I may have. That was annoyingly careful." "It was," Chen Ming asked. "What happened to the rest of us?" Lin Yuan looked at him. "I don't know. None of us. I never met you in my first life." Fang Hao appeared relieved. Zhao Kai looked offended. "I wasn't famous, not to me." "That feels unlikely." The journalist almost smiled, then stopped herself. Chen Ming ignored him. "If you never met us, then our current decisions have already separated this life from the previous one." "Yes. How long ago did the future become unreliable?" "The transit route was the first undeniable change. Smaller differences began earlier. Study bridge itself may have caused some, possibly. Chen Ming processed the answer the way he processed financial risk, not by deciding whether the impossible claim was true. Not by deciding whether the impossible claim was true. By testing whether it explained the available evidence. You predicted opportunities accurately early on, he said. Then your certainty decreased as our actions created larger changes. Yes. You never made money from short-term markets. No. Why not? Because I knew enough to understand how dangerous partial memory could be. Zhao Kai stared. You remembered the future and chose a used bicycle. The bicycle worked. That is the most believable part of your story. Su Qing remained focused on something else. Why didn't you tell us? Lin Yuan had expected the question. The answer was still difficult. At first, because no one would believe me. And later, because you might. Silence returned. The journalist stopped writing. Lin Yuan looked directly at Su Qing. If you believed I knew your future, every disagreement between us would change. You might wonder whether I was protecting you or controlling you. If I warned you about someone, you would not know whether I remembered a fact or feared a possibility. If I supported an idea, you might believe it was guaranteed. Was Study Bridge guaranteed? No. You knew the original idea had potential. Yes. You knew I could build a successful company. I knew one version of you eventually did. And yet you still let me make decisions. I tried to. Sometimes you guided them. Yes. Because of the future? Sometimes. Her fingers rested against the interview form. Which decisions? The manual pilot. Starting narrow. Protecting trust. Avoiding early platform costs. Those were lessons from my failure? Partly? And the acquisition offer? No. The national expansion? No. The factory pilot? No. The new service model during the crisis? No. That future did not exist. Su Qing absorbed each answer. The boundary mattered. He had used her failure to help them begin. But everything after the future broke had been built together. Professor Luo entered the room during the silence. He had come to check the interview schedule, and stopped near the door after hearing enough to understand the subject. No one asked him to leave. He looked at Lin Yuan for a long moment. That explains the unfinished sentence. Lin Yuan remembered their first meeting. In my previous, yes. Professor Luo took an empty seat. Do you believe him? The communications officer asked. The professor considered the question. I believe the claim is internally consistent with his behavior. That is not the same thing. No. Then what should the university do? Professor Luo looked at the journalist's notes. Not publish it without his explicit approval. The journalist nodded immediately. The interview had transformed from a student feature into something that could destroy privacy, reputation, and perhaps sanity. We can remove this entire section, she said. Lin Yuan looked toward his friends. The truth was finally outside him. But only inside one room. He could still contain it. He could ask them to forget the claim publicly. He could allow the official article to use the safe story about a family shop and self-study. The world would continue believing he came from a hidden family. It might be easier for everyone. Then Zhao Kai asked, Are you planning to tell your parents? Lin Yuan had not reached that question. His mother believed he had matured suddenly after entering university. His father had accepted the change with quiet gratitude. Neither knew their son remembered failing them. Neither knew he had already mourned them once. I don't know, he said. Zhao Kai nodded. For once, he offered no opinion. Su Qing closed the interview form. End the interview. The journalist shut her notebook. The photographer packed his equipment. The communications officer promised that nothing from the conversation would enter the university article. When the door closed behind them, the 5 founders and Professor Luo remained. No one spoke for several moments. Then Zhao Kai stood. I need coffee. Chen Ming looked at the wall clock. It is 11 in the morning. I've just learned my roommate is 54. Biologically, he is 22. Mentally, 58 now. Your arithmetic is wrong. I am emotionally calculating. Fang Hao started the coffee machine in the corner. The familiar sound gave everyone something ordinary to hold. Professor Luo asked Lin Yuan several precise questions. Dates, economic events, policy changes. Companies that had not yet existed when he was reborn. Lin Yuan answered only where doing so did not endanger anyone. Some predictions had already failed. Others remained possible. One involved an upcoming supply shortage affecting household appliance components. Professor Luo looked toward the calendar. Does Wu Jian know? No. Why not? The shortage depended on several events. At least one has changed. Could warning him help? It could also cause him to make an unnecessary decision. Professor Luo nodded. This restraint more than any accurate prediction made the claim credible to him. A fraud would use certainty. Lin Yuan treated knowledge like unstable evidence. Chen Ming asked, "Do you remember market prices?" "Some." "Why didn't you use them to become rich immediately?" "I did not have the capital to survive mistakes. And the moment I changed one event, related outcomes could shift. You bought the apartment. A controlled risk tied to a physical asset. Which still changed." "Yes." Chen Ming accepted that. Feng Hao placed cups around the table. He sat beside Lin Yuan. "Were you lonely?" The question caught him unprepared. "In your first life," Feng Hao clarified. "Were you lonely?" "Yes." "Are you lonely now?" Lin Yuan looked at the 5 people around him. "No." Feng Hao. Zhao Kai lifted his cup. Then the rebirth was a good investment. Chen Ming closed his eyes. "Do not describe death as an investment. The return was excellent." The return was excellent. Even Su Qing laughed once. Not because the truth had become ordinary, because their relationship remained intact around it. Professor Luo eventually left. Chen Ming returned to the company's financial report. Feng Hao resumed work on the platform. Zhao Kai sent several messages, then loudly announced that he had cancelled all plans for the evening. No one believed those plans had existed. Su Qing stayed opposite Lin Yuan. When the others became occupied, she said quietly, "Walk with me." They left campus through the eastern gate. Golden Horizon stood across the road, its ground floor shops now busy with students and parents. The project had never become the investment Lin Yuan remembered. It had become useful in a different way. They crossed to the apartment building and took the elevator upstairs. The unit was empty between tenants. Sunlight entered through the balcony doors. Su Qing stood where Manager Zhou had once asked what Lin Yuan would do after being wrong. "You bought this on the first day?" she asked. "Yes." "Before meeting us?" "Yes. You believed it would make you rich. I believed it would provide a strong beginning. And when the future changed, I thought I had lost the only advantage that made me valuable." She turned toward him. "You really thought that? For a while? After everything we had built? I knew the company had value." "I wasn't certain I did." The honesty hurt more now because she understood its source. His first life had taught him to measure personal worth through outside signs. Rebirth had changed his behavior faster than his deepest beliefs. "You helped us when you knew the future," she said. "Then the future changed. And you still helped us. I had more experience than all of you. You also had more fear." He did not deny it. Su Qing stepped onto the balcony. Below them, students crossed between the university and the residential complex. "Did I become happy in your first life?" Lin Yuan joined her. He remembered the interviews, the awards, the photographs of Su Qing standing alone at major conferences. She had spoken about sacrifice with professional calm. There had been no public answer to the question. "I don't know." "Did I marry?" "I don't know." "Did Study Bridge exist?" "No." "Did you know Zhao Kai?" "No." "Chen Ming?" "No." "Feng Hao?" "No." She faced him. "Then that future is not my future." "No, it is not yours either." He looked across the city. "I know." "Do you?" She stepped closer. "You still speak about your first life as though it has authority over this one. It taught you. It warned you. But it does not own what happens next." The words settled deeper than comfort. Lin Yuan had treated rebirth as a chance to correct an old life. Perhaps that had been necessary at first. But correction still kept him facing backward. Study Bridge was not a repaired version of something that failed. His friendships were not compensation for loneliness. Su Qing was not a future founder he had saved. They were real people building something that had never existed. "What do you want now?" she asked. He had answered that question many ways over the years. Financial freedom, honesty, a company worth building, a life without pretending. All true. None complete. "I want to keep building this life," he said. "With whom?" He looked at her. The question was no longer about Study Bridge. "With you." Su Qing held his gaze. "That answer took 4 years. I had 36 years of bad habits. That is not a good excuse." "No." She moved close enough that their hands touched against the owl. Balcony railing. Neither pulled away. "I don't know whether your story is possible," she said. "I know. I may never know. I know. But I believe that you believe it." Lin Yuan nodded. "And I believe the person standing here." Her fingers closed around his. It was not dramatic. No audience. No announcement. Only a choice made without future knowledge. For Lin Yuan, that made it more important than any prediction he had ever trusted. They returned to the dormitory after sunset. Zhao Kai saw their joined hands first. He stood so quickly that his chair fell backward. Chen Ming looked up. Fang Hao smiled. Zhao Kai pointed between them. Finally, Su Qing released Lin Yuan's hand only to pick up the fallen chair. You knew. Everyone knew. Lin Yuan looked toward Chen Ming. I estimated a high probability, he said. Fang Hao nodded. My mother asked about it last year. Su Qing placed the chair upright. None of you are invited to comment further. Zhao Kai sat down. As the person who preserved your first umbrella moment, I deserve recognition. You watched through a window, Chen Ming said. Historical observation. The evening became ordinary again. That was what Lin Yuan valued most. His impossible truth had not transformed him into a symbol inside room 407. Zhao Kai still mocked his backpack. Chen Ming still corrected his numbers. Fang Hao still offered food whenever a conversation became difficult. Su Qing still challenged any sentence that sounded incomplete. They believed him in different ways. Or perhaps they did not fully believe the rebirth itself. It did not matter. They believed his honesty. The greater danger arrived 3 days later. The university journalist had kept her promise. The communications office had kept its promise. But someone outside the room had heard part of the conversation through the open corridor before the interview ended. A student assistant had recorded a short voice message to a friend. The message spread between private groups. At first, no one understood it. Then, someone connected the voice to Lin Yuan. The recording was less than 40 seconds long. It included only fragments. I died as an adult. I woke again on university registration day. I remembered Su Qing becoming successful. By midnight, the clip had reached several business forums. By morning, it appeared on social media beneath a headline. StudyBridge strategist claims he was reborn with knowledge of the future. Zhao Kai entered the office holding 3 phones. We have a problem. Su Qing was already reading the article. Chen Ming monitored customer messages. Fang Hao checked platform traffic. Lin Yuan listened to the recording once. The audio was genuine. Without context, it sounded worse. Some people called it a joke. Others called it a publicity stunt. Several accused StudyBridge of building its reputation around a fabricated mystery. A financial blogger connected the claim to Lin Yuan's apartment purchase and early business advice. The article implied he had manipulated investors by pretending to possess secret knowledge. Manager Zhou called first. Tell me the recording is edited. It is incomplete, not edited. Silence. You said those words. Yes. Why? Because they are true. Another silence. Longer this time. Manager Zhao finally asked, Are you serious? Yes. The man who had spent years searching for Lin Yuan's hidden family now received an explanation more unbelievable than any rumor. I need to think, he said. I understand. The call ended. Honda requested a formal meeting regarding the bank's relationship with StudyBridge. One partner university paused its expansion agreement. Parents began asking whether the founders were mentally stable. Investors who had once praised Lin Yuan's unusual judgment now distanced themselves publicly. StudyBridge's customer service queue doubled in 2 hours. Su Qing called the full team together. We do not deny the recording. Zhao Kai looked at her. That confirms the story. It confirms that he said it. Publicly, those are the same. Chen Ming asked, Do we explain the full context? Lin Yuan shook his head. The full context sounds more impossible. Silence allows others to define it, Zhao Kai said. Then define what matters, Su Qing replied. StudyBridge's records are real. The services are real. The financial reports are real. No customer purchased anything because Lin Yuan claimed supernatural knowledge. Chen Ming nodded. We separate the personal statement from company operations. Fang Hao asked, What about Lin Yuan? Everyone looked toward him. The company could protect itself by treating him as an unstable founder who had made a private claim. Some advisors would recommend a temporary leave. Others would demand a public apology. If he stepped away, StudyBridge might recover faster. Lin Yuan understood before anyone said it. I can resign from management. No, Su Qing said. The answer cut across the room. It would reduce pressure. It would tell everyone we believe you are a threat. I may be. To what? The company's credibility. She stood. The company's credibility cannot depend on pretending one founder never said something strange. This is more than strange. Does it change the service? No. Did you misuse customer money? No. Did you fabricate business records? No. Did you manipulate us into giving you control? No. Then you do not resign. Chen Ming supported her. Operationally, a resignation creates more questions than it solves. Zhao Kai added, and emotionally, absolutely not. Fang Hao nodded. We stay together. Lin Yuan looked at them. In his first life, a reputation crisis would have ended every relationship built on appearance. Now the truth threatened people who knew him fully. They stayed anyway. Su Qing assigned tasks. Chen Ming prepared a financial and governance statement. Fang Hao secured the platform against unusual traffic. Zhao Kai drafted public messaging. Su Qing contacted partner institutions directly. Lin Yuan would record one statement. No dramatic defense, no attempt to prove rebirth, only truth. The video was published that evening. Lin Yuan sat inside the original study bridge office. The damaged wall remained visible behind him. My name is Lin Yuan. He looked directly into the camera. The recording circulating online is genuine. I said those words during a private university interview. He paused. I understand that my claim sounds impossible. I cannot provide scientific proof, and I do not ask the public to accept it. Comments moved rapidly beneath the live stream. He continued. What I can prove is how StudyBridge operates. Every service record, financial report, refund policy, and partner agreement can be reviewed. No customer was promised future knowledge. No investor was asked to fund us because of supernatural claims. No business decision should be accepted simply because I made it. The last sentence mattered. For years, people explained my behavior by imagining a powerful family behind me. That was false. Now some may explain it through this claim. That would also be a mistake. My decision should be judged by evidence, responsibility, and results. If I am wrong, I should be corrected. If StudyBridge fails to provide value, customers should leave. If our records show misconduct, we should face the consequences. He rested his hands on the table. I will not ask anyone to believe where my experience came from. I ask only that you judge what we built by what it does. The video ended. Public reaction divided immediately. Some mocked him. Some admired the directness. Some became more convinced that the entire story was a carefully designed brand strategy. A smaller group began examining StudyBridge's public records. They found transparent refund data, failed pilots included in annual reports, independent university audits, no evidence of fabricated results. The crisis did not disappear, but the attack shifted. It became difficult to accuse StudyBridge of fraud when its operating data was more open than most companies. Professor Luo gave an interview the next day. He did not confirm rebirth. He said, I cannot evaluate an impossible personal claim. I can evaluate 4 years of conduct. Lin Yuan has repeatedly reduced his own authority, disclosed failures, and accepted correction. That is not how manipulation usually behaves. Honda reviewed the bank's relationship and kept it unchanged. We lend against records, not metaphysics, he told his board. Wu Jian publicly confirmed that Lin Yuan had refused rapid expansion even when StudyBridge needed money. Manager Zhou remained silent for 2 days. Then he called Lin Yuan to Golden Horizon. They met in the same sales office where everything had begun. The miniature project model had been replaced. New photographs showed occupied study rooms, rental services, and students using the shared facilities. Manager Zhou stood beside the window. For 4 years. I believed you came from a hidden family. I know. I investigated your parents. I know. I thought ordinary records proved someone powerful had erased the truth. I suspected that. Manager Zhou turned. Then you tell me the truth is that you doubt. Deed and returned. Yes. Do you understand why that is difficult to accept? Completely. Did you know the original Golden Horizon would become valuable? In my first life? Yes. Did you know my marketing problem? I understood it from the sales materials. Did you know the transit route would change? No. Did you use me? Lin Yuan answered carefully. I used knowledge I had. I also gave you honest advice. I never intended to harm you. That is not the question. Manager Zhou stepped closer. Did you see me as a person, or as someone you remembered? Lin Yuan considered the first meeting. At the time, Manager Zhou had been an opportunity, a connection, a doorway into the business circle. That was true. At first, partly as an opportunity. Manager Zhou's expression hardened. Later, as someone who trusted me before he understood me? The honesty landed without decoration. Manager Zhou looked away. I disliked the first answer. You should. But I believe the second. He walked toward the project model. Did I know you in the other life? No. Then everything after the apartment was new. Yes. Manager Zhou studied the buildings he had saved partly through Lin Yuan's advice. I still do not believe in rebirth. I don't require you to. But I believe you believe it. The same conclusion Su Qiang had reached. Manager Zhou extended his hand. And I know the value of what you did after your prediction failed. Lin Yuan shook it. Their relationship survived, not unchanged. More honest, Qianbo requested no private explanation. He sent one message. The origin of wisdom matters less than what it is used to build. Then he arranged a meeting of several business leaders who had publicly distanced themselves. He placed Studybridge's audited reports on the table. "If you trusted him only because you believed his family was powerful," he said, "then your judgment was weak." No one replied. "If you trusted him because his decisions created value." "The recording changes nothing," one executive asked. "Do you believe he was reborn?" Qianbo smiled. "I believe many successful people rewrite their past until it sounds inevitable. Lin Yuan has done the opposite. He revealed a truth that makes him look less credible." He closed the report. "That is either madness or honesty. Which? His conduct has already answered." The business circle did not return all at once. Some relationships ended. A university canceled its pilot. One investor withdrew permanently. Several parents left Studybridge. The company lost 12% of active customers in 1 month. But the feared collapse did not happen. Most families cared more about whether mentors arrived on time than whether one founder believed he had lived twice. Studybridge published its governance structure and placed greater decision-making authority with Suqing and the operating team. Not to remove Lin Yuan, to make explicit what had already been true. The company did not depend on one person's predictions. That proof strengthened it. The national media cycle moved on. Online jokes remained. So did believers. Some people began treating Lin Yuan like a prophet, which irritated him more than mockery. He refused all interviews about future predictions. When asked what stocks to buy, he answered, "I do not know." When asked which industry would dominate the next decade, he said, "Any confident answer should be treated carefully." When asked whether another crisis was coming, he replied, "Always." The timing is the part no one controls. His refusal created another strange reputation. The man who claimed to remember the future but would not predict it. For once, the contradiction protected the truth. The hardest conversation came last. Lin Yuan returned home alone. His parents closed the shop early. They had seen the news. His mother placed tea on the small table behind the counter. His father sat opposite him. No one knew how to begin. Finally, his father asked, "Did you really say those things?" "Yes." "Do you believe them?" "Yes." His mother held the edge of the table. "You said you died. In another life, that is still you." Her voice broke slightly. Lin Yuan had prepared explanations for public doubt. "None helped here. I'm alive now. That doesn't stop me from hearing that my son died alone." His father looked down. "What did we do wrong?" "Nothing. You said you were ashamed of us. I was wrong. Why?" The question contained years of pain. From a life they did not remember. Lin Yuan swallowed. "Because I thought other people's respect mattered more than your love." His mother wiped her eyes angrily. "We gave you everything we could." "I know. You did not know then." "No." The word hurt. His father asked, "Did we die before you?" Lin Yuan hesitated. His father understood enough. "Tell me." "Mother died first." The room became still. "Illness?" she asked. "Yes." "What illness?" Lin Yuan shook his head. "I don't want you living under that fear. Medical timelines may already have changed. We'll arrange regular checkups and handle facts as they come." His father asked. "And me?" "You lived longer. Did we reconcile?" "Not properly." The admission broke the last of his composure. "I kept waiting until I had something impressive to bring home." His voice tightened. "I thought I needed to return successful enough to erase what I had done, but time ended before I did." His mother crossed the small space and pulled him into her arms. He had imagined this moment many times. An apology, forgiveness, words large enough to repair a lifetime. Instead, she held him as though he were still a child who had returned late. His father placed one hand on his shoulder. "You came home this time," he said. "That was all." It was enough. They did not decide whether rebirth was real. His mother believed the pain in his voice. His father believed the changes in his actions. The impossible explanation mattered less than the fact that their son no longer hid from them. Before Lin Yuan left, his mother packed food into reused containers. His father reminded him to compare loan rates before refinancing anything. The world remained ordinary. That saved him. When he returned to the city, Suqing waited at the train station. "You didn't need to come," he said. "I know." They walked toward the exit. "How did it go?" "They were hurt. And they still packed food." She nodded. "Then it went well." Outside, evening traffic moved beneath the station lights. Lin Yuan stopped. The future he had hidden was no longer hidden. Some people had left. Others had stayed. The mystery around his family had finally collapsed. There was no untouchable clan. No secret fund. No invisible protector. Only 2 parents running a small shop. 3 roommates who became brothers. A professor who trusted evidence. Business leaders who had learned to judge conduct. A founder walking beside him who knew the truth and still chose his company. For years, people had assumed Lin Yuan stood confidently because failure could not reach him. Now, they knew failure had already destroyed him once, and the truth did not make him smaller. It revealed why he refused to waste the life that followed. The first offer arrived 1 week after the controversy faded from the headlines. It came from a national education group that had previously tried to acquire StudyBridge. This time, they did not ask to buy the company. They asked to invest. The proposed amount was large enough to fund expansion into 50 new cities. The conditions were softer than before. StudyBridge would retain its management team, operating standards, and brand. Only one clause created a problem. The investor wanted priority access to all future financing rounds. Chen-Ming read the clause twice. They are trying to secure influence without taking control immediately. Zhao Kai looked at the investment figure. It is still an impressive amount of influence. Feng Hao asked, "Do we need it?" Su Qing turned toward the expansion report. "No." Zhao Kai slowly lowered the document. "We should at least pretend to struggle with the decision. We are still stabilizing the cities we already entered," Su Qing said. "More money would only increase pressure to grow." Chen Ming agreed. "Our current cash flow can fund 6 additional cities next year. 6 is less than 50. 6 can be supervised." Zhao Kai looked at Lin Yuan. "You are being suspiciously quiet." Lin Yuan had been studying the investor's accompanying letter. The language was respectful, almost cautious. Before the truth about his rebirth emerged, powerful people had approached him because they believed his family stood behind him. Afterward, some left. Those who remained no longer believed in hidden protection. They believed in the network he had built openly. That changed the meaning of the offer. It was no longer an attempt to gain access to an imagined family. It was an attempt to enter the real structure forming around him. "We reject the priority clause," he said. "And the investment?" Chen Ming asked. "We offer them a smaller round tied to specific city launches." Su Qing understood immediately. "No? General expansion capital. Only money matched to approved operating plans." Zhao Kai smiled. "So we reject most of their money while asking them to stay interested. We give them a clear use for part of it. Less dramatic, more useful. They as dramatic." Sent the counter-proposal. The education group accepted within 2 days. That surprised no one except Zhao Kai. I expected at least one round of powerful negotiation. Chen Ming adjusted the final agreement. They know we can continue without them. That is why people keep saying we are untouchable. Lin Yuan looked up. "Who says that?" Zhao Kai turned his phone around. A business article had given StudyBridge a new label, the Untouchable Student Company. The article explained that the company had survived policy pressure, rejected acquisitions, endured public controversy, and still attracted universities, banks, manufacturers, investors, and influential business leaders. It described StudyBridge as protected by a network too broad for any single rival to challenge. There was no mention of a hidden family. The mystery had evolved again. Lin Yuan read the final paragraph. StudyBridge did not belong to one powerful family. It had become the center of one. He placed the phone down. "That is still exaggerated." Zhao Kai leaned back. "Not completely. We are a company. Manager Zhou treats you like a younger brother. He does not. He investigated your family twice. That is emotional commitment," Chen Ming added. "Professor Luo has personally introduced us to 7 universities. That is academic support. Honda defended our credit line before his bank board. That was based on records. Xianbo gathered investors to defend your reputation. He defended judgment, not me." Feng Hao looked thoughtful. "My parents call your parents every month." Lin Yuan paused. "They do. My mother sends restaurant supplies to their shop. Why? She says they are friends." Zhao Kai spread his hands. "Family?" Su Qing entered the room carrying 2 folders. "What are you arguing about? Whether Lin Yuan has accidentally created the untouchable family everyone thought he came from." She placed the folders on the table. "He has." Lin Yuan looked at her. "You too." Not at her. "Through blood." She opened the first folder. Inside was a list of StudyBridge's newest institutional partners: universities, factories, parent associations, community education centers, regional banks, independent mentor groups. The second folder contained letters of support received during the controversy. Some came from people Lin Yuan had helped directly. Others came from people who had never met him but trusted StudyBridge's records. Su Qing placed both folders in front of him. "Power is not only control," she said. "Sometimes it is the number of people willing to stand beside you when leaving would be easier." Lin Yuan looked at the names. In his first life, he had collected business cards. He attended dinners, followed wealthy people online, and remembered the names of anyone whose status could make him look connected. Almost none would have answered his call when he failed. This list was different. Every relationship contained exchanged value. Manager Zhou had offered access, but Lin Yuan helped save Golden Horizon's positioning. Handi offered banking support, but StudyBridge proved its discipline through records. Wu Jian provided a factory pilot, but StudyBridge improved the lives of his employees' families. Professor Luo guided them, but the team gave him a student company worth defending. Qianbo offered credibility, but Lin Yuan repeatedly gave him honest judgment without flattery. Even the relationships around his parents had formed through genuine warmth rather than image. He had not entered an untouchable family. He had built one slowly enough to trust. The realization did not make him feel powerful. It made him feel responsible. "What do we owe them?" he asked. Zhao Kai blinked. "That is your first question? It should be." Su Qing sat beside him. "We owe them the same thing that brought them here: value and honesty." The answer became StudyBridge's next stage. Instead of expanding only through company-owned branches, they created a partnership model for universities and community organizations. Local teams could use StudyBridge's systems, mentor standards, and training. They would not surrender ownership of their own operations. StudyBridge would earn service fees and provide quality control. The model spread more slowly than franchising. It also kept power closer to the communities being served. Professor Luo reviewed the structure. "You are giving local partners more control than investors will like. They understand local families better than we do," Su Qing said. "Some will make poor decisions. Then we design clear limits. And if design clear limits, they still fail. We stop the partnership." Professor Luo looked at Lin Yuan. "Was this your idea?" "Su Qing's." She glanced at him. The old habit of redirecting credit had become natural now. Professor Luo smiled. "Good." The first partnership launched in a western city where StudyBridge's earlier direct expansion had failed. The local university selected mentors. A parent committee helped design schedules. StudyBridge provided training, technology, and audit systems. Within 6 months, the location served more students than the failed branch ever had. The lesson was clear. StudyBridge did not need to own every solution. It needed to make trustworthy solutions easier to build. The partnership model attracted attention from public education organizations. With attention came political interest, public expectations, and more pressure than private investors had ever created. A national committee invited StudyBridge to participate in a policy consultation on university-supported learning services. The invitation listed Su Qing as founder and chief executive, Lin Yuan as strategy director, Chen Ming as finance director, Fang Hao as technology director, Zhao Kai as communications director. For the first time, all 5 appeared publicly under titles that accurately reflected their work. Zhao Kai photographed the letter. "We have official titles. We have had titles for 2 years," Chen Ming said. "Not printed by a national committee." Fang Hao looked at Lin Yuan's line. "Strategy director sounds mysterious. It sounds like work." "Sounds like work," Lin Yuan said. Su Qing collected the documents. "We leave Friday." The consultation took place in the capital. The conference room was larger than any they had entered as students. Government officials, university leaders, researchers, and education companies filled the long tables. Several executives recognized StudyBridge from the controversy. A few watched Lin Yuan with open curiosity. One official asked him during the first session, "Can future market trends be predicted accurately?" The room understood the hidden reference. Lin Yuan answered without discomfort. "Not accurately enough to replace testing." A few people smiled. A few people smiled. The official continued. "Then what should policy support? Systems that reveal problems early, such as transparent complaints, measurable service quality, limited pilot programs before national expansion. Clear exit rules when a model harms students." Another executive challenged him. "Too much caution can prevent innovation." "Yes. Then where's the balance? Allow experimentation without allowing experiments to hide their damage." The answer entered the final consultation notes. Su Qing spoke about mentor verification. Chen Ming discussed financial transparency for prepaid education services. Fang Hao explained how student data could remain portable without becoming a tool for trapping users. Zhao Kai argued that public communication should explain limitations as clearly as benefits. StudyBridge did not dominate the meeting. It contributed where it had evidence. That restraint earned more respect than grand claims would have. After the consultation, the 5 stood outside the building beneath a wide stone entrance. Zhao Kai looked back. "Do you realize that 4 years ago, we were arguing about a coffee machine?" "We still argue about the coffee machine," Chen Ming said. "The current one is underpowered. It follows dormitory regulations. We no longer live in inns. The dormitory. Then buy one with your own money. Zhao Kai looked offended. I bought the first 3. Your first one caused a power failure. History exaggerates. Fang Hao opened his phone. My mother wants to know when everyone is free for dinner. Su Qing asked. Which restaurant? Home. Zhao Kai stared. Your family home or the 7th-floor small restaurant? My mother said home. That answer has become dangerous. They returned to the city and attended dinner at Fang Hao's family residence. It was the first time he had brought them there. The house stood behind a quiet courtyard near the river. It was large but not showy. Family photographs covered one wall. Fang Hao appeared in nearly all of them, holding food. His mother welcomed the team as though they had been expected for years. Lin Yuan's parents had arrived earlier. His mother was already helping in the kitchen despite repeated attempts to stop her. His father sat with Fang Zheng, discussing supplier prices. Manager Zhou arrived carrying wine, and was told by both mothers that no one needed expensive gifts. Professor Luo came with books for Fang Hao. Han Di arrived late from the bank. Wu Jian brought his daughter, who had once attended the factory study program. Qianbo entered last, and brought nothing. I was told gifts are discouraged, he said. Lin Yuan's mother approved immediately. The long dining table filled. No one had planned a formal gathering, yet almost every person who had shaped Lin Yuan's second life sat within the same room. Zhao Kai looked around and whispered, "This is the family meeting," Chen Ming asked. "Which family?" "The untouchable one." Lin Yuan heard him. "Stop calling it that." Qianbo, seated nearby, smiled. "Why? Because no one here is untouchable." The older investor looked around the table. Manager Zhou had nearly lost Golden Horizon. Wu Jian had faced manufacturing crises. Honda had approved loans that failed. Professor Luo had seen students abandon good projects. Study Bridge itself had nearly collapsed. Every person present had been touched by risk, disappointment, or loss. Qianbo nodded. Then perhaps resilient is the better word. Zhao Kai considered it. Less dramatic. More accurate, Chen Ming said. Dinner began. Conversation crossed generations and industries. Lin Yuan's mother asked Su Qing whether the company made her eat on time. Su Qing said no. His mother blamed Lin Yuan. He accepted the criticism. Fang Zheng and Wu Jian discussed employee education support. Professor Luo asked Fang Hao whether the platform could support adult training. Zhao Kai tried to convince Qianbo to appear in a promotional video. The investor refused before hearing the full idea. Han De told Chen Ming that Study Bridge's financial reports had forced 2 larger education companies to improve their own disclosures. Manager Zhou spoke with Lin Yuan's father about opening a second shop near Golden Horizon. His father rejected the idea. "We are comfortable with one." Manager Zhou looked toward Lin Yuan. The family habit is clear. His father did not understand the joke. Lin Yuan did. After dinner, the younger group moved into the courtyard. Warm light spread through the windows behind them. Zhao Kai carried tea he had not prepared. Chen Ming checked messages from Study Bridge. Fang Hao brought a plate of fruit. Su Qing stood beside Lin Yuan beneath a tree. For a while, no one discussed work. That had become rare enough to feel valuable. Zhao Kai broke the silence. "What happens next?" Chen Ming looked at him. "Tonight? After graduation? After national partnerships? After becoming responsible adults?" "You are asking 3 different questions." "I'm asking the important one." Fang Hao sat on the stone step. "I want to improve the platform." "That was obvious," Chen Ming said. "I will remain with Study Bridge until the financial structure no longer needs me." Zhao Kai stared. "That sounds like you plan to leave." "It may always need me." "Acceptable." Su Qing looked toward Zhao Kai. "What about you?" He lifted his tea. I will make Study Bridge the most trusted education brand in the country," Chen Ming asked, through accurate communication. "Mostly." "That word is concerning." Zhao Kai turned toward Lin Yuan. "And you?" The question no longer frightened him. He did not need a prediction. "I want Study Bridge to become useful without depending on us." Zhao Kai sighed. "Of course your answer becomes a management principle." Lin Yuan smiled. "And personally?" The courtyard quieted slightly. Lin Yuan looked towards Su Qing. "I want a home I don't feel the need to leave." No one joked. Su Qing's hand found his. Zhao Kai waited 3 seconds. Then he said, "That was unexpectedly good." Chen Ming nodded. "Better than average." Fang Hao smiled. "My mother has already planned your wedding menu." Su Qing turned. "What?" Fang Hao realized too late that the information had not been meant for public release. "She plans menus for many possible events." Zhao Kai nearly spilled his tea laughing. The subject spread into the house. Both mothers emerged within minutes. Lin Yuan considered escaping. Su Qing held his hand tighter. You said you wanted a home you don't need to leave. That principle is being tested. The courtyard filled with questions. Dates, venues, families. Whether the wedding should be in the city or Long County. Whether the wedding should be in the city or Long County. Whether River Pavilion was too large. Whether study bridge mentors should be invited. Whether Zhao Kai should be allowed near the planning process. The last question received a unanimous no. The wedding did not happen immediately. Su Qing refused to let family excitement replace an actual conversation. 2 months later, she and Lin Yuan returned to the Golden Horizon apartment. The unit was empty again between long-term tenants. It remained simple, reliable, useful. The first major decision of his second life had never delivered the fortune he expected. Instead, it had become the place where he admitted uncertainty, chose Su Qing, and repeatedly confronted the difference between prediction and judgment. They stood on the balcony at sunset. Su Qing held 2 cups of tea. My mother called me today. About the wedding? She has joined your mother. That is dangerous. They have a shared group. More dangerous. Su Qing gave him 1 cup. What do you think about their group? About us. Lin Yuan looked at her. I want to marry you. Good. That was direct. You had 4 years for indirect thinking. He laughed. I don't want a large wedding, neither do I. Zhao Kai will object. He has no vote. River Pavilion? Too large. Long County? She considered it. 1 ceremony there. A small dinner here for the people who helped us. That sounds like 2 weddings. 1 wedding. 2 meals. Your business logic is strong. I learned from failure. The words echoed his own first confession. This time, they carried no shame. They stood together as the city lights began to appear. I have 1 condition, Su Qing said. What? No promises based on the future. I don't know the future. Exactly. Then what can I promise? That when you are uncertain, you tell me. I promise. And when you think protecting me requires hiding something important, you remember this conversation. He nodded. I promise. She placed down her cup, then asked properly. Lin Yuan had negotiated loans, advised investors, faced national panels, and confessed an impossible life before millions of strangers. None of those moments made him as nervous as the next few seconds. He took the ring from his pocket. Su Qing looked at it, then at him. You already prepared it. I hope the discussion would go well. That sounds suspiciously like a prediction. A controlled risk. She smiled. Lin Yuan lowered himself onto 1 knee. There was no audience. No camera. No future memory telling him what she would say. Su Qing, will you marry me? Yes. The answer came before he finished worrying. Their wedding took place the following spring. The first ceremony was held in Long County. Lin Yuan's parents closed the shop for 3 days. The entire street helped prepare. His mother complained about expenses while adding more dishes. His father wore the same dark jacket until Su Qing personally gave him a new one. He accepted because refusing his future daughter-in-law felt impolite. The second dinner took place at River Pavilion. It was not small. Feng Hao's mother had interpreted close friends generously. Study bridge mentors came from several cities. University professors attended. Factory workers whose children had joined the early pilot sent a group video. Parents shared letters. Manager Zhou gave a speech about meeting Lin Yuan in a sales office and spending 2 years searching for a family that did not exist. The guests laughed. He continued. I eventually realized I had been asking the wrong question. He looked toward Lin Yuan. The question was never which family he came from. It was what kind of family would gather around the person he chose to become. The room quieted. Manager Zhao raised his glass. Now we know. Qianbo spoke afterward. His speech was shorter. Power built on fear disappears when people stop being afraid. Power built on money disappears when the money does. Power built on usefulness, honesty, and shared responsibility is harder to remove. He looked across the tables, not untouchable, enduring. Lin Yuan's father said nothing publicly. When the dinner ended, he handed his son a small wooden box. Inside was the old calculator from the family shop. 3 buttons were still missing. You used this when you were young, his father said. I remember. You used to say you would become rich enough that we would never need to calculate small amounts again. Lin Yuan lowered his eyes. His father smiled. Keep calculating. Small amounts matter, so do small choices. Lin Yuan closed the box carefully. That gift meant more than any expensive item he had owned in either life. Studybridge entered its next decade without becoming the largest education company in the country. It did not need to. Its system supported thousands of local partners. Universities used its mentor standards. Community centers used its study group model. Factories adopted its employee family programs. Banks used its transparent payment structure as a reference for education businesses. Other companies copied parts of StudyBridge. The team allowed it when the result helped students. They defended only the trust attached to their name. Su Qing remained chief executive. She became known nationally, not as the founder Lin Yuan had predicted, but as the founder she chose to become. Chen Ming built a financial structure strong enough to survive expansion, regulation, and changing investors. Fang Hao turned the platform into infrastructure other organizations could use without surrendering their independence. Zhao Kai made honesty interesting enough to compete with exaggeration. He still complained that no one appreciated the difficulty. Lin Yuan stepped away from daily management gradually. Not because he lost interest, because the company no longer needed his presence in every decision. That had always been the goal. He spent more time supporting new founders, advising community businesses, and building a small investment partnership with Qianbo. The partnership followed strict rules. No investment based solely on his memory. No founder expected to surrender control for guidance. No company funded because it sounded impressive. They invested in people who understood a real problem and were willing to remain after excitement disappeared. Manager Zhou joined several property projects centered on practical community needs. Honda created a lending program for disciplined young companies, without traditional collateral. Wu Jian expanded employee support across his factories. Professor Luo retired from full-time teaching and became StudyBridge's first independent education advisor. The network widened. Not every person succeeded. Some businesses failed. Some partnerships ended. Some relationships weakened. The family they built was not protected from consequences. It was protected from facing them alone. Years later, a young entrepreneur visited Lin Yuan's office. The young man wore an expensive watch he checked too often. His proposal used words like premium, elite, exclusive, and disruptive. The financial model had no clear customers. The business existed mainly to look successful. Lin Yuan read the proposal and saw himself. Not the person he had become. The person who had died. "What problem are you solving?" he asked. The young man began describing market size. Lin Yuan stopped him. "Whose problem?" The young man hesitated. "High-income consumers want better experiences." "Which consumers?" "Urban professionals." "What experience?" The young man could not answer clearly. He looked frustrated. "My family said you would understand." "Who is your family?" The young man named an influential businessman Lin Yuan knew. The answer explained the introduction. It did not improve the proposal. "Your family can fund this," Lin Yuan said. "They want me to prove myself." "Then don't use their money yet." The young man's face changed. "What should I do?" "Find 10 real customers. And ask what they need. Then build the product? First see whether the same problem appears more than once." The young man looked at the expensive presentation he had prepared. "That seems too small." Small is useful when you still don't understand. The meeting ended. Without investment, months later, the young man returned with a different proposal. Simpler, less impressive. Built around a real problem faced by small restaurant owners managing food waste. He had tested it with 12 businesses. 3 paid. 7 wanted changes. 2 did not need it. Lin Yuan read the results. "Now we can talk." The cycle continued. People still asked about his rebirth. The question appeared in interviews, biographies, documentaries, and university case studies. Lin Yuan never tried to prove it. He no longer needed belief. When asked whether he truly remembered another life, he gave the same answer: yes. When asked what lesson mattered most, he never mentioned markets, investments, or future events. He said, "A second chance is wasted if you use it to become better at pretending." The answer became famous. Some people printed it on posters. Zhao Kai sold officially licensed notebooks with the sentence. Lin Yuan complained. Zhao Kai showed him the charity revenue. Lin Yuan stopped complaining. At home, life remained smaller. Su Qing left notebooks on every surface. Lin Yuan kept receipts in labeled boxes until she forced him to throw away the useless ones. They visited Long County often. His parents eventually retired from the shop. His mother continued comparing grocery prices. His father continued using the old calculator until Fang Hao repaired the missing buttons. The repair upset him. He said the calculator had lost its character. Fang Hao apologized and removed the replacement buttons. Room 407 remained active as a group chat, long after the original dormitory was renovated. Zhao Kai sent photographs at midnight. Chen Ming corrected misinformation. Fang Hao shared food locations. Su Qing muted the group, and still read every message. Lin Yuan rarely wrote first. Whenever he did, everyone answered. One autumn evening, years after graduation, the 5 returned to Azure River University. The old dormitory building had been renovated. Room 407 now housed 4 freshmen who had never heard about the original coffee machine incident. Zhao Kai considered telling them. Chen Ming stopped him. They crossed the campus toward the Entrepreneurship Center. The original booth no longer existed. The center had become an entire building. One floor carried the study bridge name. A wall displayed early student projects. Their first one-page operating principles sat behind glass. Start narrow. Verify tutors. Protect trust. Expand only after the process works. Zhao Kai read them aloud. We were very serious. We were inexperienced, Chen Ming said. That is not mutually exclusive. Fang Hao found a photograph from the first showcase. Su Qing stood at the front. Chen Ming held the financial model. Fang Hao stood beside the old booking page. Zhao Kai was speaking with his hands. Lin Yuan stood behind them, almost hidden. Su Qing looked at the photograph. You spent years behind everyone. I thought that was useful. Sometimes, and now? She looked toward the current building. Students moved through meeting rooms. New teams argued over ideas. Mentors reviewed proposals. No one paid attention to the 5 people standing beside the old photograph. Now the work is in front of us, she said. They left the building after sunset. At the university gate, Golden Horizon remained bright across the road. The apartment had long ago repaid its loan through rent. Its value had grown steadily, never explosively. It became exactly what Lin Yuan's final judgment had recognized. Useful. He stood before the crossing and remembered arriving with an old backpack, future memories, and a decision not to pretend. At the time, he believed honesty would make his life smaller. He thought he would surrender the luxury, influence, and respect he once chased. Instead, honesty removed the cost of maintaining an empty image. The energy he once spent appearing successful became available for building something real. He gained wealth, but wealth was no longer proof. He gained influence, but influence was no longer performance. He gained a family larger than blood, but family was no longer a background others could investigate. It was a responsibility shared by people who had chosen one another repeatedly. Zhao Kai called from ahead. Are you coming? Lin Yuan looked toward them. Chen Ming waited beside the road. Fang Hao held a bag of snacks. Su Qing stood beneath the streetlight watching him. No prediction? She asked. He walked toward her. None. What happens next? Lin Yuan took her hand. We find out. The light changed. Together they crossed the road. In his first life, Lin Yuan had spent everything trying to enter a world that looked untouchable from the outside. In his second, he stopped pretending. And step by honest step, he built a world no failure could take from him alone. Stabray Noel Jizad Ziad Wardiran.